Geoffrey Boycott's was the bat which bowlers rarely passed. He was a technician par excellence, a defensive master, but who could, when he deemed the ball to be absolutely right, play a punishing range of scoring strokes. Fittingly, he scored his 100th hundred in an Ashes test at his home ground, Headingley.
Again, a question of perfect piece of timing.
In all first-class cricket, Boycott scored 151 centuries. In tests, he amassed over 8,000 runs with 22 scores over 100. The Boycott approach to batting was single-minded and strictly according to the orthodoxies of the game. Jeff was a central pillar of an England innings with the concentration to bat all day. He was a master professional, a remorseless collector of runs. A typical day for Geoffrey Boycott began with meticulous preparation for the task ahead, then practice and more practice. Since his retirement, he has become a tutor who can explain the reasons behind every single movement of hands and head and feet. Jeff, let's start talking about preparing an innings. At which moment do you start preparation to bat?
Well, I always started the night before, but I was a first-class cricketer playing professional cricket every day, and it was very important to me, and it was the only thing I did, basically. But for club cricketers and young lads at school, that might not be so easy with homework and other things. I think certainly on the morning of the match, they ought to give a little bit of thought to it, who they're playing. They've probably got some idea of what bowlers. And also, when they get to the ground, I think it's very important to have a look at the pitch you're playing on. If it's a very slow, wet pitch, you know that the ball's going to stop and sit up slowly. You're going to have to get right forward, and most of your runs are going to come from the back foot, pulls and cuts. If it's a fast, bouncy pitch, well, you don't want to be pushing forward too often, do you? I think you just have to give it a little bit of thought if it's going to spin or turn, because the first few balls you receive as a batsman are absolutely vitally important.
I played with a marvellous test cricketer called Majid Khan, who believed that he shouldn't talk to anybody for 1 hour before batting, because he felt that was energy expended, gone out of him, not saved for the actual innings. Would you subscribe to that sort of approach?
Yes, I think most batsmen are best left a little bit quiet for a while, whether it's an hour or whether it's 20 minutes. But certainly before I opened the innings, I didn't want to talk to anybody. If my mum had knocked on the dressing room door, I'd told her to go away. I didn't want to know. I didn't want my partner to talk to me. I really wanted to cocoon myself with that sense of concentration. Almost put blinkers on. Concentrate on what you're doing, because concentration is really the most important thing for a batsman.
Okay, so I'm a schoolboy going to play an important school match, and I see that the pitch is rain affected. Do I then decide to cut out some strokes?
I think you'd be wise, if not to cut them out, to give it a lot of thought and be very, very careful. That's the most important thing. I don't think you should ever say, well, I'm never going to play that. But I think you should be wise enough to think, well, that could be a dangerous shot today. And I think that's what you have to be aware of. It's being aware, being psyched up, being concentrated on what you're going to do. I think that's important. Right, let's just see you stand again. Your stance is quite nice. Yeah. It's not quite exactly mine. Your feet are probably there, pointing towards there to mid-on. Your bat's in front, but I think stance, you know, comfort is the most important, although I personally advocate both feet parallel to the line to stay very sideways on. And the most comfortable way to put the bat, the way I had it, was just behind there, just behind the toe. And it should rest comfortably there. Before you actually pick it up, that's the most comfortable way for me. And I always had my knees just slightly bent. I think the most important thing about the stance is really to be ready to move. Comfort and ready to move. You want balance. Too many people I see, they stand with the feet down, but the weight is just on all the foot. When I batted, the weight was on the balls of my feet. Although the foot was down, both feet were down, the weight was really on the balls, almost like a ballet dancer. You want to be ready to move, because batting, it's about balance. You really do have to be like Nureyev, the dancer. You want to be ready to move, quick, move, balance, and everything comes from the balls of the feet here. And I think standing here, whatever comfort way you stand, whether it's yours slightly more open, but I prefer that more sideways, I think you want to be on the balls of those feet. That's absolutely vital. And the grip, basically yours is the normal grip, very good grip, 2 V's here, finger and thumb, down between the back and the edge. But personally, I was very much like Len Hutton, the great Yorkshire batsman Sir Len Hutton. The left hand here, instead of being the V between these two, the outside edge and the back, mine was round a bit, so the V was nearly at the back on the left hand, and I actually feel that gave me more control. And I don't say it was a hitting grip, it was a control grip. And when you think about it, most people that bat, they bat with the top hand is their weak hand, and yet this is the most important cricket hand. So I'm right-handed, I do everything right-handed, yet the most important hand to me is the left, and it's the weakest, so that's the hardest to gain control over the bat. And so I think, for me, I just had the left hand round a bit and the V pointing down the back, and I could control the bat more with what was a weaker hand, particularly in the early years, and Len Hutton did exactly the same.
When you're batting, presumably, there is a moment when one merges with the other. Do you decide to attack, or does it just flow?
I think it should start to flow after you've been in a little bit. Very few batsmen in the history of the game have been able to come in and take an attack apart right from the word go. Vivian Richards may be one who was a truly great player, but not very many. And most people have to get used to the pitch, the bowler, just get themselves in a bit, and then it should grow, that confidence should grow till you start to slice up the attack. And there's different ways you can do that. You can be a butcher of bowling by bashing it for 4s and 6s. That's the nature of, say, Vivian Richards if he gets in. He was a killer. But myself, the nature of slicing up the opposition. You can see the gaps and keep piercing them and placing the ball. And it's very frustrating for bowlers if every ball, good ball they bowl keeps it in the middle of the bat, and every bad ball keeps disappearing in a gap for runs. That can be just as frustrating and demoralising.
Well, let's have a little tip then to get the batsman going. Tip and run, short singles. I know you used to favour a little push on the onside. And
yeah. I think that if you've got a good technique, I think it should be bread and butter to play off your body, off your legs, on the onside. It's an easy way, it is bread and butter. It's just, thank you very much, nice of you to bowl it there, that just keep my score ticking over. I think taking singles is a state of mind first, that you're going to look for singles, and to do that you have to learn to memorise exactly where the fielders are. You look around, you're not just looking around, you're actually seeing exactly where they are and how far they are away from you in terms of judging a run. And then once you've done that, learn to memorise these fielders, and then learn to be able to play with soft hands. By that I mean letting the ball come to you and not being pushing and firm all the time, just let it come. And just as the ball's about to hit the bat, just relax the hands a little bit, and the ball should drop down within a few yards. It's almost impossible for the fielders at cover and mid-wicket to save a single. And I'm a great believer that if you can learn to do that, you rotate the strike, which frustrates bowlers, because they're bowling good balls and you're actually getting a run for them. Your confidence goes up because the scoreboard's ticking over in your name, the total's good for the team, and what's even worse is that then the bowler has to start bowling at your partner. He doesn't get a full over to work on you. So in many ways, I think it's good for you, good for the team, and psychologically bad for the bowlers.
Jeff, I want to talk about difficult situations as a batsman. Let's talk about bounces first of all. Can seriously unsettle some batsmen?
Yes, it's a part of the game that I actually believe should be kept. I think there should be short balls, there should be bounces. Perhaps not too many, but I'm still a great believer there should be some. The reason why, because I think one of the aspects of cricket we forget, first and foremost, it's important to have a good technique. But secondly, just as important, is character. And a facet of character is courage. And I think that's what school cricket brings out in youngsters, is courage, character. And if you haven't got that, you can just be a good-looking technique player, but you're useless against the fast bowler. And part of the beauty is to be able to play fast bowling, the short pitch bowling. And I think that if you can learn to watch the ball, and you can learn to have that courage to stand there, watch the ball, and really watch it, not freeze. That's the hardest thing to do. You see so many people, they watch it till it's nearly going to hit them, and then they just turn away like a rabbit in the glare of headlights. Well, you have no chance. I think watching it is the key, having the courage to watch it, And from then on, it's easy, because you just sway and duck, and it misses you by a few inches. But really, that's a million miles at cricket. I mean, you think we nick it to slip. A thick edge goes for 4 between gully and slips, and a thin edge goes to slip. So we're talking about that much, aren't we? That's how much we play as a batsman. So when it misses you by 3 or 4 inches or 6 inches, it's a million miles. But it's really having the courage to stand there, look at it, and I think everything from then on just falls into place. That's a better position slightly to play the quicks, but what it always is, a far better position to play the fast bowlers if the ball bounces or short balls at you. Because you've always got to remember that. It's not just playing back foot defensive here, they're going to bowl short balls, awkward balls. And you want to be in a great position to be able to watch the ball all the time and sway or duck out of the way. Now if you're sideways, like that, with this small target, just the side of you, it's much easier to get here and then sway and let it go in front of your face, a few inches, but that's a million miles away if it's just a few inches at batting. You haven't to be worried about that. And if you go to play it here and it starts to come straight at you, you can duck inside like that. Again, still a narrow target, and again, still looking at it. That's the important thing. Too many people get here and then they freeze, the head goes away like that, they're never looking at it at all. And the hardest thing to do is to look at it. To get in this sideways position with that right foot, keep looking, play it, keep looking, sway, let it go, keep looking, duck, keep looking as it goes over this shoulder. Occasionally if you get in that position, you're going to play it and it's a bit straight, you haven't time, you can go that way, right down, but again, still looking. The hardest thing to do is to keep looking at the bouncer, the short ball. Doesn't matter whether you're swaying, you're ducking, you're falling down, look at it. Now, if I give you one tip, the best way to practice playing the short ball or the bouncer and trying to get in this good position so you can play it well is to get your friend to throw a tennis ball. Because this cricket ball is very hard. If you start trying to play bouncers, you're going to get hurt until you master the technique. So get a tennis ball, get somebody to throw it fast at you, and then you can do that, play it sideways on, you can do that, sway, you can do that and duck, and get the confidence as well as the right technique to play short pitch bowling by using that tennis ball. Right, throw a few tennis balls for him. Are you bringing him? That's well played, beautifully played. Good. Good. That's it. That's it. Get it straight at him. Leg stump, then you can go that way then. Straighter, so he's going to duck inside it. That's it. Keep looking at it. Whatever you do, look at it. That's it. Beautiful. Put that right foot over. That's it. That's it. Move fast. Balance. Ball of the foot. Piece of cake, isn't it?
Do you recommend the wearing of helmets, and at what age would you recommend that batsmen began to use them?
I'm not a great believer in helmets. I wore one myself towards the end of my career, but basically because everybody was wearing them, and it seemed like waving a red rag at the bull. If I didn't, it was like saying to the fast bowlers, look, I'm that good, you know, I don't need one, and they're going to try twice as hard. Well, that's foolhardy. That's silly, that. I think once you get into your teens, if you're playing in good cricket and you really feel you need one, the longer you can stay without a helmet, without being just trying to be bravado, shall I say, the longer you can stay without one and feel comfortable, I think the better it will be for you, because it actually make you watch the ball. When we didn't have helmets, very few people got hit on the head, you know. And now they wear helmets, more people get hit on the head. So if you can work that out, I think people have got a false confidence and they don't totally look at the ball.
You go out to bat and you're surrounded with a ring of spinners and the wicket's turning. We've seen this happen to the England side over the years against Indians in India. It's a real pressure situation.
I've always believed you've got to have confidence in yourself to play into the fielders. Now, I see a lot of batsmen come in and there's fielders on the onside, so they're looking to play to the offside, and if they're on the offside, they're looking to play away. Or they're frightened there's one up on either side, so I think, well, I've got to get rid of these guys, I've got to whack it in the outfield. And it's probably not their game to whack it over the top. So they get out, they make a mistake. They're doing exactly what the bowler wants them to do by pressurising the batsman. I don't believe that. I think you should have enough skill and confidence to play into the fielder. You can make your statement that you're in control, that you're in charge of the spinner, without hitting him for 4 and 6, just by keep playing it in the middle of the bat into the fielders. And I've also never been a great believer, which is coming over the last 10 or 15 years, of playing with the bat hidden behind the pad. I don't think cricket was meant for that. And they get away with it because umpires don't give batsmen out for what is not playing a shot. They're not really playing at the ball, but they get away with it, and they shouldn't in the laws of the game. I was a great believer, brought up like Gary Sobers, people from abroad. You play at the ball. Your pad, or your foot with the pad on, goes on the next line to the ball so that the bat can come down and hit the ball. And that's how I played. And then I played with the balance of my front foot playing forward on the ball of the foot. Many people put the front foot down and it goes flat down, and it's really just goes bump down. And you've really got to be like a ballet dancer on the ball of the foot. And if you're on the ball of the foot and the balance is so good, you can manoeuvre your knee. And so you can manoeuvre and go with the spin whichever way. But too many people put the left foot down or the front foot, pump, and it goes down very rigid and flat. You can't move anything then. It's just wooden, isn't it? Boom, down. Perfect. Absolutely perfect, that. Let's do that again. Couldn't better that. Maybe slightly bigger stride, a little bit further. That's better. You see how your weight's coming forward now? You're a big lad, so you've got a big stride automatic, which is important. This is important. You tend to just go where it's comfortable, and you could get actually further out and get your weight forward. That's what you want more. Do that again. You tend to play forward, good stride, pretty good, but stood up. That's better. You see, you're actually now playing the ball here. That's where you're going to make contact, and your eyes are here. So you're not only making contact on the line of the ball, you're making contact over. You tend to settle for that. Your eyes are here, here. You could actually just get a touch. So your weight should be really all on that foot. If I lifted that foot off, you're really quite perfectly balanced, aren't you? Yeah. All that does is steady you. And that's because I now just pushed your weight a touch forward into it. Perfect. Good. Excellent. Better? You're about 6 inches further in your stride now. And the difference between that is, this is a pitch where you could play bowling, any type of bowling on, but if you're playing on grass, the ball turns, it swings or seams, you want to be as close to the ball as possible in comfort. Not overstriding, but you want to be as close and over the ball as possible, because then if it does anything, seams, turns at the last minute, it can't do very much because you're too close to it. You're that close to it, it cannot beat you. But if you stand up, it looks good, but you're still a little bit away from it. You see, look, every time you play forward though, you start creeping up. That's where you shouldn't be creeping up for defence. As you play forward, that should never move. All it should do is come on the inside of the foot. Every time you keep going and creeping up.
Why would that be?
Well, what happened? Because you're not used to getting as far forward and over the ball. You're used to just getting there, stood up. Nice, quite good, but you could make it better. See the difference?
Yeah.
You're here, it's quite good. Well, I'll do it here. This is you, nice, right? As soon as I do that, then you start dragging. Now, if the keeper stands up and you start dragging, you're out. Aren't you? If you miss it, you're out. And that's, you've got to get perfect balance here, behind the crease. Perfect balance, look. That's my stride. I'm 5'10", and you're what, 6 foot?
6'1", something like that.
6'1". You're 3 inches taller than me, and my stride is 3-4 inches bigger than yours. Something's not quite right. Just one other thing. The object of batting, a simple object of batting, is to use this batting crease. That is, when you play back, to get as far back in comfort so you can take as much time as possible, or when you're playing forward defensive, to get as near to the ball in comfort so that it can't do anything. The distance between the ball and you is minimal. Rather than here, then you're further away. You want to be as close as possible, because if it does anything, you can move with it, and it hasn't got much distance to move between you playing it from when it pitched. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, yeah, it does.
Perfect. Good. Well, I'm glad to see that you stand at the crease properly. Do it again. And probably what you don't realise is that you're actually doing it well. The bat actually picks up slightly towards first slip. It actually comes slightly up here, loops, and it opens like that, and then it starts to come down. So it's a slight loop. I hate these people who just stand with the bat up here. This is a bad position to stand. You see people like Graham Gooch standing in that, but that's really, it's a hitter's position for hitting the ball like baseball. The thing that's different with batting is that 70% of batting approximately, you're actually defending those stumps. Now it'd be nice if we weren't, if we could just hit every ball, but that's not true. Batting, you have to play forward defensive, back defensive, and defend the stumps. So that's really a hitting position, and I don't advocate that. Yours is beautiful, absolutely beautifully balanced. Yeah, it picks up there slightly, slightly opens and comes down nice and straight, and that's good. But the only people that should really stand like that with the bat up in the air, you say you're 6'1",
Yeah.
is somebody like Tony Gregg, who is 6'6", 6'7". Now he's that far up there that if he wanted to put the bat on the floor and stand properly, his head would be right over like that, you see. So he started this a lot. He stood up like that because he really needed a bat that was 6 inches longer. Being 6'6", he was like that. So he stood like that so that his eyes were on about off stump, off the middle. That's how you should bat. So he'd be all right at 6'6". But most of us should stand down like you do. Yours is perfect. It's nice and comfortable, and the bat picks up nicely there in a comfortable way, just opens slightly and then comes down. I couldn't better yours.
A lot of our conversation's coming back to soft hands and balance.
Yes, absolutely crucial in batting to me. You can play forward defensive, which looks okay, but if the balance is not on the ball of the foot, and if you're not in control of your hands, I mean, one of the great secrets of playing spinners is to see it early, but play it late. To watch it, to wait, to have the confidence. The bat's coming down, but it's not coming right, it's coming down, waiting, and going with the spin. That takes a lot of nerve, quite a bit of practice, a lot of confidence in your own ability, but I feel that's the only way to play. I mean, this disease we've had in English cricket for quite some time now is people come in against the spinners, and you'll hear people say, get forward, get forward. I think that's the biggest load of tripe I've ever heard. You should never make up your mind that you're going to play forward or back before the bowlers bowl. You can have it in your mind that for this particular bowler or this particular spinner, I might look to play forward. He's not quite the same as I'm going to play forward. I've keeping it in mind that if the ball's in no man's line, not forward, not back, I will probably play forward. But never prejudge. Never make up your mind beforehand. And there's too many people just push out, don't they, firmly. Get the bat and pad out there. I've never heard so much tripe.
I just want to talk now, focus on the view the batsman has of the bowler. And we'll start with the new ball, where you always started. The ball that swings, any special rules, the away swing or the in swinger? Once you've detected it, this is the style of bowling that's coming towards you. Do you have any little implanted messages?
Yes, when the ball's swinging a lot, which we don't get too much in English cricket now, some of the great swing bowlers seem to have gone, but when the ball does swing, I think you've got to say to yourself, what does the bowler want me to do? What shots does he want me to play with the ball swinging? For instance, away swingers. Dennis Lillee would bowl and pitch it up. He'd have plenty of slips and gullies behind for the nick, and there'd be huge gaps on the offside as you were bowling away swingers. Just be one man, and you'd think, ooh, that's very inviting. But say to yourself, well, why does he only give you one man there? Why does he put them all behind here for catches? Because he wants you to drive, doesn't he? He doesn't mind you having a nice drive for 4, a nice drive for 3, another nice drive for 4 off the front foot, and then you go, oh, I've nicked it. He says, oh, that's 1 for 11, thank you, Geoffrey. Nice wicket. I'll have 5 batsmen out for 50 runs in a test match. Says, lovely. And so I think you've got to be aware of how they set the field, where they're wanting you to play. You must never do what they want you to do. Try and do what you want to do. You decide what are the safe areas to play. Now, it doesn't mean to say that you can't then cover drive off the front foot, but make him pitch it right up to you. Don't be feeling for it out there. Make him pitch it right up. So if he's tempting you, don't play it for a bit. Just wait.
What you're saying is that the batsman has to have sort of antennae, so it's not just the ball he must be concerned with, but the whole environment and where everybody's standing and what the plot is. Yes. Let's go to the quicker stuff. We've talked about bouncers. With out-and-out speed, a lot of players decide to play back first. Some go forward first. I can make mention of 2 modern players, Sachin Tendulkar, little movement forwards, Michael Slater of Australia, little movement backwards. Are there any rules?
No, but there's one thing about it. The weight of their body, the balance, is just slightly forward. Doesn't matter whether you play back or forward, the weight has to be slightly forward, and they are not fully committed. That's the important thing. He said Sonny Gavaskar just goes a little step forward. He hasn't gone pushing out there about 4 feet at the ball. He's just a little step, but the weight is always on the balls of those feet, so that if it's short, he can transfer very quickly to the back foot. And you can only transfer your weight if you're on the balls of your feet. That's the important thing. If you're flat-footed, boom, feet down, heavy, you have no chance of getting moving quickly. This is this ballet dancer thing I talk about. You've got to be on the balls of the feet. I used to go a little movement back. Greg Chappell did the same. Just a little. But it's on the ball of the foot, just a little bit, but the weight is forward. So I can go another step back to get right back to the short ball, or I can go another step forward. And you've got to be able to transfer weight quickly, and you can only do that by not being fully committed too soon and by having the balance on the ball of the foot. Yeah, let's just have a look here. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah. Nice position when you play back here. The bat, the elbow, shoulder, very good. It's your foot that worries me. Your first movement is there. It's almost pointing extra cover. Yeah. And straight away, as soon as you do that, it turns you round chest on. Now, because he's just bowling slow, you've plenty of time still to play nicely here. But when the fast bowlers are bowling, and it happens so quickly like that, as quick as that, you haven't time to think about what you're doing, you do it instinctively. And if you get that foot round, pointing over there, and the chest here, you're going to get turned round like that, like somebody on point duty at Buckingham Palace, and that's no way to play. You can't play fast bowling, short bowling, chest on. It's impossible. You've got to be sideways on. And once you do that, you start to be in trouble. You get away with it against slow spinners because you've plenty of time still to stay sideways on. I would prefer, and this is how I bat it, is to get that foot there, almost parallel. Not exactly, but nearly, and that keeps me sideways here, where you do that and turn. I do that and stay sideways, and I keep the weight on the ball of the foot.
So we're now looking at the spinners, and they're coming towards us, and they're twirling their hands. Someone says that's the googly, that's the leg spinner. How important is it to read wrist spin? Is it possible to learn how to read wrist spin?
Yes, it is impossible to learn. It is important to try and learn, I think. I'll put it another way. I don't think it's imperative to know which way it's going if you're defending. It certainly is if you're trying to score, because part of defending your wicket is reading the line and the length, never mind what the ball does. Now, obviously, if it's turning, you really want to know, because the line and length won't be enough. If you've read the right line, the right length, you really do need to know. Some people have said they can see the ball spinning out of the hand. I never could. I used to watch the hand and see what they're trying to do. That's what I used to watch. But again, I come back to, it's helpful to know which way it's going. It's important to try and learn what the bowler's bowling, because it gives you an extra vital fraction of a second to get in position to actually score. And that's where you see the difficulty of batsmen who get a slightly short of a length ball. They're not quite sure which way it's going, so they can't be truly committed to playing a forcing shot because they're not sure they've got it wrong and they might get out. So it is important to try and learn, but then it's important to have balance and use of the knee, to play with the spin, to go with it.
Geoffrey Boycott, technically one of cricket's finest defensive batsmen. A man whose powers of concentration, dedication and determination to occupy the crease made him a most difficult batsman to dismiss. David Gower is a cricketer who made batting, and everything else too for that matter, look easy. Elegance overriding force, timing and style personified. In all, Gower stroked over 8,000 test match runs for England. David proved that in facing high-class bowling, the best batsmen try to dominate. Mere occupation of the crease does not touch the peak of batting excellence. Gower's batting did, and much of his stroke play was unforgettable for it. He understands the peculiar problems faced by left-handed batsmen. Much of Gower's easy style comes from his mental approach to batting, and he has been brave enough to take as his theme attacking play, which, as everyone knows, courts the mistakes which go with adventure. In this particular session of conversation and tuition, we're able to be with the master in the middle, so to speak. We can listen in to that special conversation which no one else ever hears, between the batsman and himself.
Basically, the game is the same whichever way you stand. The basic principles apply of how you try and manipulate your hands, your feet, how you try and get the blade square onto the ball. I mean, the same basic tenets of playing as straight as possible, hold good, left-handed or right-handed. What changes is simply that for the stop delivery, the right arm over bowler, for the right-hand batsman, something that pitches on off stump is basically going to hit middle perhaps, is going to hit the stump, it's going to be close. For a left-hander, a length ball for a normal position on the crease from a right arm over bowler, pitching on off stump, it's going to miss off stump comfortably. And so all you're doing as a left-hander is learning a different set of angles. So when you start as a youngster, your natural instinct is to go and play at the ball, which is fine. That's a great natural instinct to have, that's what you want to do. But as the game gets harder, and as the leave becomes as much part of your armoury as any attacking shot or pure defensive shot, then you're working out angles. One of the things that we sometimes ruck about, complain about, is that we have this little bit of rough where, as the bowler runs through, typical right arm over, you end up with a bit of rough just on a length there. Now, the great thing is if the bowler hits that roughed up turf, which is going to grip, the ball's going to grip, the one thing you don't want to be doing is wafting through the line of the ball, the original line of the ball, and not really being there for the turn. It's very easy to have a go at that, try and hit it straight, even try and hit it too much to extra, and you find that it's coming through and poles have gone, the bails are off. That's the end of your chance this time. And the great thing of rough is not to panic, it's just to try and let the ball come to you. You've got several lines of defence. Just soft hands again, just let the ball come to you, drop it down if you can, use the pad if you have to. And every now and again, if you're good enough or confident enough, left arm over, a bit of a rough, if you pitch in the right spot, which has to be just the right spot, just the right length, you can just nudge it gently over the top and make him take a fielder out. The great thing is you end up so many times with fielders round you. And the worry is your big pressure is you're going to knock something, whether it comes off pad, glove, bit of bat and pad, knocks out the man on the offside, glove or something knocks out the man on the leg side. If you can remove one or two of those by judicious stroke play, then you're taking some of the pressure off yourself. But there's always that risk if you don't play this shot right, and that means if you don't watch the ball, don't pick it properly, don't pick the right ball, that's going to go straight up in the air as well, and that doesn't really help things. So just don't panic. Don't panic. Let's hope this one doesn't bowl me. That's all right, that's nice, that's full enough. Nicely timed, just wait into the shot. And the nice thing was it was hit fairly straight there, not across the ball. Every time you go across a turning ball, again, you're ending up with a bat that's not really all there. You've only got half a bat to play with, and you've got to be a very good player to get away with that. I was happy with that because it did go so straight. We'll survive one. Oh, nice. Bat went through well. Straight at extra cover, no run. Well bowled. Nice solid forward defence, bat looking square. Never played so well in my life. Just sort of a length, just short enough to go back. Room to swing the bat. Don't try and hit it too hard. Just try and find the gaps in the field. Nice to use the feet now and again. That's caught. Not the way to do it. Just stretched a bit too far outside the off stump, couldn't get on top of it. The idea was just a little bit ambitious. Part of the whole thing is shot selection, picking the right ball to hit, picking the right ball to defend. Well bowled, good length. Oh no. Got away with it. I was wrong. Didn't keep the head down, didn't watch the ball right till the end. I thought about hitting it over the top, miscued it. Better option would just have been to have allowed the ball to come. That's the trouble. The mistakes you make are when you look almost too early to go after a shot. Always got to let the ball come to you. Batsmen at high class level will play a lot of balls simply on the line. When the length doesn't come into it, if it's wide, they're programmed to leave the ball until the bowler bowls straight, and whether you're right-handed or left-handed. If you say to the bowler in effect, right, you've got to bowl at me, where I want you to bowl which is straight, you bowl it straight, I'm going to hit it. That's my line of attack. Fine, you cut out a lot of attacking options that way. That's the simplification, oversimplification of the art of playing line. But as obviously, for someone who wants to attack, for someone who wants to be a run-scoring batsman, not just someone who's going to be a limpet at the crease, then you're trying to judge length and line simultaneously, to take on short bowling, to take on over-pitched bowling, to take on wide bowling. You've got to make all those judgments in a hurry. But obviously the best batsmen, the ones that you love to watch, the Gary Sobers, the Pollocks, the Viv Richards, left-handers, right-handers, doesn't matter. If they pick up something which is not immediately on the spot, that isn't the exact right length line that's going to force them to defend, then that's all they need. They just need a little bit of width this side, a little bit of width that side, a little bit of shortness outside off stump, whatever it might be, and suddenly you've got room to swing the bat. And that's why I think, for me, for anyone who likes to be aggressive, if you start with the bat reasonably high, you get your hands up ready to play a shot in the first place, you've now got room to swing the bat. And if you get any of those little minor errors from the bowler, just the simple swing of the bat, and I mean simple, will give you power to a shot.
It's often said, by bowlers that batsmen really are idiots because they get themselves out so often.
It's said by batsmen too.
Let's start an innings now, and we want to play an attacking innings. When you stand at the crease, do things pass through your mind, or are you able to clear it?
Well, in essence, you want to clear the mind first of anything that's going to be negative. So if you're, for instance, coming up against someone quick, which at the top of the order is quite likely, especially if you're playing Test cricket or something and you're playing the West Indies, you haven't really got much option. You're very likely to get someone quick coming at you. So what you're trying to do is clear your mind of any negatives. The fact that if you get it wrong, it might hurt. Forget all that. You can think about that over a pint late at night, whatever it might be. First thing, clear the mind. You say to yourself, fine, okay, you want to just feel comfortable. You want to be able to in a position where everything can move. You want to feel as though you're in the right place. And so you just check when you obviously look down the line of the wickets. In effect, you can visualise the possibilities. You can visualise the sort of things that any bowler is going to bowl at you through experience. You know that a Michael Holding has it in his armoury, a very quick bouncer, a very quick full-length Yorker type ball, any number of length balls, and that you want to be in the right sort of positions to deal with any of those. You want to be balanced. You want to be able to move one way or the other, forward or back. You don't want to be overcommitted either back as a first movement or forward as a first movement. But you want to be relaxed enough to move. If you can't move, then it's all over in a hurry. And so you need to be, again, it comes to picking the bat up, to be instinctively moving the right sort of places, almost not quite before things have happened. You don't want to prejudge too much, but so you feel confident that you can cope with anything that comes at you. The really simple thing is to remind yourself to watch the ball. It doesn't matter if you're attacking or defending. And the mistakes you make when you're attacking sometimes, you forget to watch the ball all the way onto the bat. You might pick it up relatively early out of the hand, out of the bowler's hand. But then in your eagerness to strike the ball, you suddenly find, well, you haven't actually watched it that last 2 or 3 yards. And you might make an error of timing, or you might just miscue it, whatever it might be. And so again, just to watch the ball, and if you're, whether you're in form or out of form, just remind yourself at the start of the innings that what you want to watch is that, well, even in the run-up, say, it's a trick I try and use sometimes, is to watch the bowler as he's running up, watch the hand he's holding the ball in, and in effect, just try and focus and concentrate on the ball, forget everything else. And that does have the added benefit. You clear out thoughts about the crowd, you clear out thoughts about the sort of ball he might be bowling, you concentrate just on watching the ball, and you try and remember to watch it all the way once he's let it go as well.
Concentration, of course, is absolutely essential. But you talked about crowd disturbance. Around the world, you must have found it quite tricky concentrating at the start of an innings.
Again, I think it's the difference between, say, very good players, mediocre players, and terrible players. It's the degree of concentration, the degree of focus they have on any particular instant in a game. And I always enjoy big crowds because they provide atmosphere, they provide a bit of buzz, and make you feel just that bit bigger and better, make you feel as though you're in a contest. I mean, I find that a lifting, I find that's a bonus. It lifts you to perhaps greater heights.
Perfection as a batsman is to dominate the bowling. Is there a moment when you can decide suddenly to attack? Or is it more natural than that?
Well, the key is that you get into situations in games where tactically you need to attack. It can be in ordinary 3 or 4 day cricket or test match cricket, and very much, of course, in one-day cricket where aggression is going to win you matches, and the timing of your attack, the pacing of your attack is going to be the key. And I mean, there are various ways of being aggressive, various ways of getting that scoreboard to tick over. It doesn't always involve violence. I mean, the great thing about any batsman looking to attack, I always feel, is that you still have to remember to watch the ball. You still have to remember to try and time the ball. Because you can aim the biggest wipe of all time. And if you don't watch the ball, don't remember to watch the ball and time the ball, then you've wasted an awful lot of effort. And unless you are just extremely lucky and just happened by a chance in a million to have struck at the same place as the ball is at that moment, then you're not going to connect properly. And so, for me, for instance, especially, I hit the ball a lot better if I don't try and hit it too hard. It doesn't mean I can't pick the bat up and follow through. It doesn't mean I can't play shots that can be described as aggressive, glorious, whatever it might be. It means that I have to remember to watch the ball and time it just as if I was defending, just if I was just trying to nudge it, push it gently through the covers. It's actually sorting out where the fielders are, sorting out where the gaps are, allowing yourself to push through the ball, yes, to get it past the infield, but allowing yourself to place the ball, to try and maintain control over the ball and over the bowler as best you can, without losing your head and, of course, without losing your wicket. That's the other thing, of course. You've got to be aware of where the fielders are. If you've got a field set to stop you scoring runs, if the man's on square, then obviously the space is going to be just in front of square, just behind square, the gaps at mid-off, extra cover. You've always got to have them in your mind when you're looking to play shots. Bowled. Not short enough to hit, but just short enough to get back and watch. Ooh, that's well bowled, just drifted in a bit. And again, just got to watch the ball all the way onto the bat. That's a very common mistake that I make, everyone makes. Instead of watching the ball right onto the bat underneath the head, you start to play it a little bit further out. You almost take your eye off it. You almost anticipate you've played the ball before you've really watched it all the way onto the bat. That's often the difference between a good innings and a short innings. That was wide enough just to have a go at, just had a little bit of space, and slow enough, well, the wicket was slow enough just to give me time to look at it. And have another go. No. It's well bowled. That's not a good shot. The idea was all right. The execution wasn't. Had in mind that spot over long on. Trying to hit with the spin, the left arm spinner. Tried to hit it over the top, didn't quite time it. Must be a bit rusty. Oh no. Nearly a caught and bowled chance, could have been out in the match, as they say. Again, just didn't quite wait for it. Now that is a good shot. Watched it onto the bat, somehow got in the right position, let the hand swing through. It was a good, nice backswing, felt like a good backswing, and it felt like a nice follow through too. If you're going to hit the ball a long way, it's no use just stopping as you've hit it. Like any natural swing, it's got to go, somehow got to let the hand swing through, straight and true. I quite enjoyed that one.
So I'm a club cricketer. I'm in a 40-over match on a Saturday afternoon, and it's time to do something about it because the run rate's been pretty ordinary. I want to get down the wicket at the spinners. When do I go? That's the question often asked, isn't it? Do I go as the bowler's arm comes over? Do I wait for the ball in the air? How do you play it?
It's amazing how much time you've got. I mean, a spin bowler bowls, I'm told, at say just over 50 miles an hour, which sounds quite quick if you're in a motor car. It's quite slow if you're getting a cricket ball lobbed towards you. And the great mistake we all make at times is in our eagerness to try and dominate, you make that move just a fraction too early. If the bowler's arm is yet to come over, you're obviously a long way too early. If the ball is yet to be released, there is still a chance that a good spin bowler, who is going to be watching you as well as anything else, and whatever else he's got in his mind is going to be watching what you're doing, he's going to have a chance to adjust. And he can change his line, he can change his length, he can try and confound what your intention is going to be. And if he sees you coming, you could still be in trouble. But the great thing, having made your move, is you're allowed to change your mind. And if you find that you've made the move too early, or should we say out of coincidence, the bowler's read your mind and he's changed his plan as well, and if you've gone on a certain line, anticipated a certain line and length which you're going to have a go at, and you've now found it's a different line and length, then it's never too late to change your mind. And you can go back on it, you can block it, you can get a pad on it, anything which still means that you're going to be there next ball to face the next ball and perhaps think of another plan.
What about practice? I know in the professional game some people enjoy much more practice than others, and that's the way it suits them. But let's address ourselves to the schoolboy and the club cricketer. What's your advice there?
We all have to practice. I mean, people can't believe it when I say that sometimes, but it is because you all find that you get into good form by any number of different means. What you do in the middle is always going to be, if you succeed in the middle, that's always going to be your biggest confidence booster. But to get there in the first place, to a position where you're going to succeed, you have to groove all the actions that go into making successful shots, both defensive and aggressive. And if your arms are wrong, or your hands are wrong, or your back lift's wrong, or your feet aren't moving, which are all part of the mechanics, and which at the start of a season, after 6 months off, whatever it might be, for test cricketers, for club cricketers, for schoolboy cricketers, it's hard just to walk straight into it and pick it up and do it absolutely right. What you need to do is practice constructively and with a bit of a plan. If you just get someone to, whether they're bowling at you or throwing at you without a plan, then you do everything but nothing. If you want to practice a particular shot, you ask your bowler or the man who's throwing at you to say, right, I want some on off stump, I want to feel the bat going through, I want to feel that I'm playing straight, I want to aim towards a mythical mid-off and groove that shot. Then you say, I want something a bit shorter to ease it through the offside again with the same grooving, the same rhythm, and so you groove that shot, a few short, so you can pull some, a few on the onside, whatever it might be. And you can, in the space of 15, 20 minutes. Because you don't always have an awful long time, do you? In club cricket especially, schools cricket, you might only have 10 minutes. But if you use that 10 minutes properly and decide what you want to do before you go into that net, not just have anything come at you in any shape or form, but decide exactly what you want to do and what you want to get out of that net beforehand, then that's your most time-effective way of doing it. Well bowled. Went on with the arm. Give us enough time to watch and guide. That's just turned. That was a good length, so if I'd gone for the big shot there, that would have probably gone straight on the air as well. And that's the art. If you're going to be aggressive, you're looking to score runs, it's one thing, but you have to judge which is the right ball, which is the wrong ball. Select the right one, and you probably stay there a bit longer. Select the next one. Always remember, it's nice to be aggressive, but you've got all day to bat. Wasn't quite there to hit, so I just tried to time it. No run, mid-wicket in very quickly. Bit short. Happy with the shot, didn't quite come on. Bat was nice and straight, hands went through nice, feet moved. It's always about getting the right position to play the right shot. That's a nice shot. Half volley, found the gap at mid-off, just wider mid-off, without trying to hit the ball too hard. Just got the bat through, face nice and straight. Question of getting the hands high. If you stop the hands too soon, or the worst things I sometimes do is just bring the hands through, bring the wrists through, without letting the face go through. You try and do that, it's so easy to mistime it. It was all right, foot was there. Bat came through nice and straight, aimed it at extra cover. No great power. That was a swinger. Now what went wrong there, it got away with it all right, just tried to wait. And with the swing of the ball, it was well bowled by a slow left arm. I just opened the face. It's a typical thing of left-handers. A lot of the time you end up with, or start with an open face. And the most natural thing on earth for a left-hand batsman is instead of hitting straight, instead of starting with the face slightly more closed and hitting straight through the ball, so easy to open the wrists and hit inside to out. And you end up playing with what, half a bat? That does make life hard. Every time you do that, you think, right, I've got to try and get that face straighter through. The straighter the better.
Two strokes, perhaps underplayed in modern cricket, current cricket, the cut and the late cut and the glide, deflections really, but you have played them par excellence. What's the secret and how do you actually get round to playing them?
Any shot that you have in mind, the two keys are A, to see the ball as early as possible, to make up your mind quickly, and B, to move very quickly into the right sort of position that allows you to play that shot. And shots like either the full-blooded cut or the late cut, you've always got to decide very quickly, here's a ball that's short, it's outside off stump, I've got room to play this shot. The quicker bowlers, you've got to get on that back foot. It doesn't matter what your initial movement is, because a lot of batsmen have like a natural movement, either a little bit forward, a little bit backward, before the ball is released or just as the ball is being released. It doesn't really matter if you've got that sort of nervous tick, as long as you're in a position to move as soon as you've registered what the ball is. And you've got to then get back in position. It helps to have the bat up high. If you've got the bat down low, your hands low by your waist, you've got a lot of extra movement to make before you're in position. If the bat comes up earlier, then you can get on top of the cut and get ready in a position to let the ball come to you for the cut shot, whether it's off the pace bowler or the late cut, say off the spin bowler, where you just let the ball come even further. And the longer you watch the ball, which is normally a sign of being in some sort of good form, the longer you allow the ball to come to you, the more chance you've got just to make those minute adjustments to watch it right on the bat, use the pace of the ball, let the ball run into space, and just allow things to happen rather than forcing things to happen. Quite often you make the mistake of preempting what's going to happen. You make up your mind before the ball comes to you, of the sort of shot you want to play, and you get something which is nearly there, which is nearly in the slot, but not quite. You still play the shot, you nick it, whatever you miscue it, you pay the penalty. But if you're a good good player of the hook, good player of the pull shot, and you've got a fast medium bowler who drops one short and you hit it for 4, well, that's made him think. And that gives you an option there, but again, you have to judge it. If you've got it in mind almost before the ball is bowled, and you go into this shot and it's the wrong ball, again, you're in trouble. If you've just got it available, and you've got yourself balanced nicely on your toes, on the balls of your feet, so you can move forward, can move back, the bat is high, the hands are high, it's amazing what you can then do if you just allow it to happen at the right time.
What weight bat do you use? What weight do you recommend? How do you choose a bat?
You pick a bat really along the lines of what is comfortable for you. You look at your own body, for instance. I mean, I'm not exactly 16 stone and built for carrying huge weights. Therefore, I don't pick up a huge bat. My bats are, say, they weigh out at about, say, £2 9 ounces, £2 10 ounces, which includes sometimes a couple of extra ounces for grips on the handle. I like a thicker handle. But the balance that I get from that means the bat feels like, say, something of £2 6 ounces, £2 7 ounces. It doesn't feel heavy. And that allows me, I feel happy with that, because I then feel I can manoeuvre that bat through straight batted shots, through cross batted shots. I feel as though I'm strong enough to get that bat into the position I want at the pace I want. If I used a £3 bat, I have a nasty feeling I'd be a lot later and on shots that would leave me in a lot of trouble. I mean, fine, if players are strong, you get a lot of strong people out there, especially in first-class cricket, who are capable of picking up these currently heavier bats, £2 12, £3 bats, which, again, with rubbers balance out quite well, but for me would be too heavy. And I think for anyone picking a bat, you've got to say to yourself, if you walk into a sports shop and say, right, I want a new bat, and you pick up a bat, you've got to pick out the ones that feel comfortable for you. And you do get different shapes, you get different sizes of handle, different weights. The weight's distributed obviously down the bottom sometimes, up in the middle of the bat sometimes. You get a whole variety of possibilities. And over the years, I mean, it's not so easy when you first start, but over the years, you work out what is comfortable for you. And my bats have got marginally heavier over the years, not much, but the shape of the bats changes, you find little things change, your bat maker changes, sometimes for the worse, sometimes for the better. And as long as that bat is comfortable, then the rest is down to you. Now with the seam bowler, we've got a slightly different tack here. Been playing the spinners for a while. We've got a slightly grassy wicket, which is going to help the seam bowler. Again, nice to be positive, nice to think positive thoughts, and nice to think you're going to take control, but you've got to be aware that something could happen. And that once again, if you're not there, if your defence isn't good enough, then you're not going to be there to attack, so you've got to be careful. Straight on the pad. Not out, thank God for that. A little bit of swing. There again, bowlers are allowed to do that. Oh no. Just mistimed that. Wanted to aim it wide of mid-on. Got slightly the outside half of the bat. It's all right. Foot was well out. Just a little bit open-faced, but enough bat on it just to get it to extra cover. Just too wide to play any sensible shot at. Would always have stopped me. Oh, that's well bowled. Whew. Now that's the green wicket doing something. Beautifully bowled though. And the great thing as far as I was concerned was that instead of going with and at the ball, which the best thing I'd have done there probably is nick it at, well, at best or worst, I was able to just to come in and bring the bat inside the line of the ball. So as it moved away, at least I wasn't following it. That's not a bad lead, because that came back a little bit. How far was that away? Not very far at all. Too good a length to do anything else to. Got 4 for that too. It's nice, really. Don't always connect with the sweep, and that's just a question of trying to get the foot at the ball first. Get the head in the right line, the body in the right line.
Quite a number of professional players use rubber sole shoes. Is that what you recommend for young players starting off in school?
I think professional players will look at conditions, and if there's a lot of grass around, you tend to want to have spikes somewhere, so you don't want accidents like people slipping over. Mike Atherton, the test match on 99, it's tragic. It's not quite the Titanic, but it's a disaster for a batsman in a test match at Lords. And you suddenly think, well, they had longer spikes or it's something which gives you that grip for a situation. And then you've got one-day cricket, for instance, where you're doing a lot of running, a lot of turning. You don't want to be slipping in crepe-soled shoes in one-day cricket like that. So I'd always wear a spike of some sort, even if it's only in the front half of the sole to bat in. And then sometimes when it's really dry, the comfort of a soft sole is good enough as long as you're sensible. And the key, of course, is to make sure you don't get in positions where you need to turn too hard. To call properly, to make sure your running is up to standard, that the communication is good between you and your partner. And you avoid the need to turn on the sixpence at horrendous speeds. But for schoolboys, there are several things. One, you want to be comfortable. You want shoes the right size. It sounds stupid, but it's very easy to get shoes, especially if you're a growing lad, to find yourself in shoes that are too small. You want shoes that are comfortable, allow the foot to breathe, allow the foot to be healthy and comfortable in what it's doing out there. If you've got bad feet and you're going to spend a lot of time fielding, that's going to get very painful. That's not a good idea. And obviously professionals have options. They find it easier to acquire equipment. The amateur, the club player, is more likely to just have one pair of boots through a summer. And in which case I'd always recommend keep the spikes both in the front of the shoe and in the heel. It covers all options. For fielding, it's very important, I think, to have spikes. For batting, it's not always so important. If you're only going to have one pair of boots, you might as well have some spikes in it. That is nice. That's the way to do it. Watch the ball, follow through, clear the boundary, and everyone thinks you're a hero. Once in a while. That's a gift. And the man in the crowd's caught it. I cannot believe that. And that's just not in the spirit of the MCC at all.
David Gower, one of the most elegant players to grace an England team, giving a fascinating insight into the mind of a world-class batsman, and how sporting of him to concentrate on attack so that he could explain, as it happened, how even the most extravagant stroke maker has to combine the spirit of adventure with sound technical principles. Touch and artistry. That's David Gower. Vivian Richards was a brilliant, savage destroyer of bowlers. As a young man in the early 1970s, he came out of the Caribbean possessing an incredible eye, lightning reflexes, and a smouldering lust to prove to everyone how a batsman from little Antigua could dominate the world. He succeeded unforgettably, with a technique born of impromptu play on his island's beaches. In many ways, Richards was unorthodox, but he also had a deep understanding of the defensive skills needed to build a long and successful career. In 121 tests, he scored 24 centuries and averaged just over 50. Richards likes his cricket to be exciting. There is not a single grain of dullness in the man. He is a cricketer who made batting look simple. And towards the end of his first-class days, it became clear that the simplicity of his message could be the ultimate wisdom.
You hear a lot of things been said about how Viv plays, and Viv is not an orthodox sort of player. But in order to play some of the shots sometimes that I play, I doubt whether you could go into the orthodox book and say, here's one from that particular category. No, I also believe as well too that there are so many different styles when you're playing that you cannot tell me that there is one particular common way in a coaching system that's going to help all these particular individuals. I do not see it like that. I've always felt that a good coach deals with the ability of his clients, not to obviously impose something that was written into the particular manual. You've got to work around that particular individual and work with his strengths. And I've also believed, especially when I was much younger, maybe because I didn't have much coaching as well too, thank God, really. I'm quite pleased with that, because people, you can have the natural things that are in you be coached out of you. I had a little bit of that when I came to Alfgrove Cricket School in 1972. I had people like Arthur McIntyre and people sitting behind it or standing behind the nets and telling you the elbow is not out enough. And here I am, this sort of a brash young kid coming out of Antigua, and you're telling me about my elbow should be pointing down the middle of the track. But those were particularly useful times, because I did learn as well too, because I had grown up at that particular time, and I've also believed that when you're dealing with young kids, there are categories of coaching. When you're dealing with young kids, you should allow them to be free and to be relaxed and not to complicate them too much with this fact about defense first before they can hit a ball. I do not believe in that. Sorry, Jeff. But these things do happen, and I believe you've got to allow that little kid to go, because you don't want to confuse their little tiny minds by telling them about bat and pad close together, and you shouldn't allow any fresh air to pass between your bat and pad and things like that. I believe when they could fully accomplish hitting a cricket ball and doing all the natural things of hitting it to all parts of the ground, then I think defense can come in and you can learn and say, well, what I should do and what I shouldn't.
Oh!
That's a much better shot, that one. Because obviously the first one that you played, like, you know, I think like your head was a little bit in the air. You started to look where you were going to hit it before.
Yeah.
And the last one, you waited a little bit longer and you hit it a little bit straighter. I think that was a much better shot, you know? Good man. Same thing again, you know? Yeah. That, I think it's just a little bit away from your body. I think the bat was a little bit away from your body. Yeah. If you can remain a little bit tighter, because everything I think is perfect, you know? The couple of shots you played before, that was all right. But I think if you can just remain nice and tight, yeah, and keep your head close until you make that contact, you know? Yeah. Try again, my man. Good. Yeah. Yeah, that was kind of all right. I think we get in there. Yeah. Better, yeah. Just go for it, man. Go for it. Yeah. Looking good. Let me keep nice and tight again. Yeah. Just wait till it's just basically trying to wait until the last moment. It's like, and then you make contact, yeah, and then the head comes up. But I think your head just started to come up before, yeah, you made contact anyway, you know? Try again. Let's get some of those drives going now. Better. Sweet. You had me here, man, and wicked. Nice shot, there. Better again. Everything looking like it's in place now, isn't it?
Yeah, it feels better as well.
I think nothing's going to beat your bat now again, huh? Try, huh? Good, man. Better, yeah. Practice, huh? Yeah. Sweet. Nice and easy. So long as, because with it, right, so long as you get your foot to the pitch of the ball and your head remains still. If you start moving about like doing that, yeah, then you look to be in trouble. If you can just maybe and you get your pitch to the foot of the ball, bang. So long as you're to the foot of the pitch of the ball, you can hit it any way you want to, you know? Try that again. Wow. That looked like one of mine, you know. I could feel the right hand come over there a while ago, right? You just allow it, even though you hit it well, you know. But I felt that your right hand did take control there a little while, didn't it? Yeah. You can just stay a little bit, let the left hand lead a little bit more. But good shot still, you know. Sweet, that's a sweet shot, that.
Felt better.
Foot, yeah. Foot, everything was right to the pitch and everything came up perfectly, yeah. That's even a better replica. Everything was nice. Sweet.
Better timing on that one as well.
No need for me to come there. I can stay here and watch you all day, you know, guy. Wow, you get away with this time. I think you may get away with that. That's looked like one of mine again, huh?
So we have this young boy who is now looking to hit the ball rather than think of defence first. He's playing his first matches. What's his approach? What's the mental approach to building an innings then?
I've always felt that you've got to work out within your mind. You know the caliber of competition. You've got to work within your mind how you would like to play. You know the shots you can play, the shots you cannot play, and work within that particular radius. It's no use leaving the pavilion or your dressing room and not knowing exactly, because you've got to work it out in your mind as well to exactly what sort of pitch you're playing on, whether it's a pitch that you think you can cut or you can pull, because maybe it could be a little bit up and downish. And these are all the different little things, you know, that goes with batting. And you've got to obviously sit inside there and concentrate on every ball that you see ball outside there. You think to yourself, well, how am I going to do this? Or I saw him try to cut or pull on a few occasions and it didn't seem to come off. Some flew and some kept a little low. So which means that you've got to concentrate on playing a little straight up the track a little bit more and not to take too much chances of maybe trying to look left or right in that particular category.
Do you think grip and stance are important?
Yes, I think it's pretty important when that individual who's going to use that grip throughout his career is comfortable. You do find you may get a guy who may hold. That's where we talk about the orthodox and the unorthodox way, where you may find some guys who holds the bat a little different because they may feel comfortable doing it that way. It's pretty common that you've got to understand that that guy feels comfortable and not trying to tell him to bring this around a little bit, but to work with that particular individual. That individual may pick up the line of the ball a little quicker than the individual who holds it, the bats totally correctly. I don't know which is the correct way, but I believe the correct way is the most comfortable way, and how you feel if you do feel at ease at the crease.
Same with the stance?
I believe in that as well too. You know, you get people telling you, oh, you're too much around and you're too open. Then there's a guy who's standing maybe in the sort of side-on stance. Well, fair enough. If that works for that guy who is in that particular side-on stance, good luck. But I think individuals got to work with what they have and not what is obviously put to them. A good shot, Dan. Yes, I like that, you know, because whenever you're playing on the back foot, I like to see a guy utilize the full crease. Right. You know, if you're going to go back, it's always nice that you can't just stand here and do that. Which means I like to see a guy utilize his full crease and know exactly where the crease is and the stumps, so that when he gets here, he can get maximum power if he's going to play an attacking shot behind it. Right. I love that, you know. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's when you're on the back foot, you're on the back foot. When you're on the front foot, you're on the front foot. So you got to utilize the crease, you know, whatever little space. That's why I think we have those little marks there, you know. Better, nice, nice. That's sweet. That's sweet. Sweet, that even better. That's it. That's it. You see, by utilizing the crease, you get maximum arms length for you to use your arms, and everything just feels supple, you know, you feel nice and loose, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, that's it, that's it. When you rock back to do the business, you know? Played, well played. You defend that pretty well, you know, because you're playing the other shots as well too, where you were scoring runs. That one got a little bit bigger, isn't it?
It's a bit straighter than
yeah, and you waited for it, and you hit it as straight as you can. You never hit it as hard as the rest because of the extra bunks which it had, yeah? But you played it perfectly well, man. That's a good shot. Sweet shot, that's a sweet shot. Very nice, very nice. Everything is just looking into place now, you know? Yeah. Looking good, looking good. Played, well defended that. It's nice to defend too, isn't it? When you just had a couple of fours and guy bowls you a perfect sort of delivery and you get your full face behind it and it must feel good, huh?
Yeah.
That looks good.
Tell us about playing important innings in big matches. At which point do you start to think about the innings? Before the match, night before, week before?
Well, there are times when I was at Somerset during my younger days, and obviously, you know, when I was representing the West Indies, there are times where you used to play those innings before you actually go out and do them. And it depends if you're fully caught up in maybe wanting to do well and to achieve. Well, certainly all these things play a little havoc with your mind, and you start playing these little knocks before you actually get out there on the day. And for some reason, it's amazing that you may have a dream, and that dream may be that I've scored 100. I've always dreamt I scored 100. I never ever dreamt anything less, you know. But sometimes when you do pop out in the middle, that dreams sometimes do not become a reality. But at least it's within your mind what you'd like to do and the things that you'd like to accomplish. And you should never go for second best. You should always try for the top. And I've always believed that yeah, here I am scoring 100 again and maybe hitting a 6, you know, after the last ball to get 100. And yeah, I play these things in my mind. And so which means that I'm fully aware of exactly what I want to do and the success and that particular success level as well.
You particularly were a very dominant batsman. What about the young player, the teenager now? Ideally, he wants to get on top of the bowling and dominate it. Can he decide when to do that, or does it come just naturally?
Sometimes you can start doing that.
Sometimes you can start.
Yeah. But yeah, I was an 18-year-old kid as well too, and I think that's the way I've played my cricket throughout, you know. And I can only explain it the way that I know it and the way that I have learnt it. But maybe to try and explain it to a younger kid at that particular stage is to say maybe if you have or you did have Viv as I at that same time, why not? You know. But this is how life is, you know, and I believe that with a young kid who's coming in at that particular time, it's important that he knows exactly what he can achieve. If he thinks, well, he's in the Jeff Boycott sort of a mold, I have nothing against guys who go out and defend, but at least I think you owe it to the people who pay to at least give them a little entertainment and to say to these particular people, you've seen this innings, I'm quite positive that he will come back again, not drive them away, you know. So with that, I've always believed in the entertainment side of it. And if you're a young sort of individual, you shouldn't allow maybe how you feel. You do not feel confident enough for you to go out wanting to hit the ball. But if that's the way you feel, you get an enjoyment out of that, why not go out and enjoy it? You know, I believe in that. You're only going to get out. Ah, that's a good shot. I love that, huh? I love to see the good things, like you're trying to rush them a little bit, or you try to be too quick. But right here, you utilize the full crease and you wait it, and if you can hit it in front of the square all the time, I always believe that you're doing well. You know, if you keep getting it maybe to fine leg, it's going to be pretty difficult because there are times you could hold out, which means you're not too much in control. But when you can hit it in front of the square, I think you're in control of it. You know, always remember to try and utilize all the crease as well. So which means you get a little room for you to play your shots a little quicker. All right, try that again. All right, good, man. So if you're hitting it in front of there, you're hitting it in the air most times. You may have a mid-wicket, a mid-on. It's always nice you can look to keep it down a little bit. Try and get on top of it because you're trying to not get in that position or get caught in that position. So try and see if you can get on top of it a little bit more. So which means you'd be looking to be on your toes rather than to be flat-footed.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you can get on your toes, and which means it gives you a little bit more room and height as well for you to roll your wrists. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Can I have some of those? Yes, that looks good, that looks good, that looks good. Always make sure that you're nice and balanced when playing this shot.
Yeah.
It's a shot that you've got to be really precise. So it's important that whenever you get in your position that you're really balanced. It gives you power as well too when you are balanced. Yo, I'll take that, I'll take that. That's a good one. Wow, that's good, that's good. You may get one for that, but at least those are always the difficult balls to hook. The ones that that is going down the leg side. Because the only thing that you can do is help it along.
So get some bat on it.
Yeah, so that is why when you're hooking, it's so important that you become very selective.
Yeah.
And if you can get it in front of square and you can hook where you have sufficient chance where you can come over it and get your head, the other side of it, I think you're doing well. But when you're looking down that side, it gives you a chance, where you can be holed out anytime, So I've always believed the ones that you can hook, if you can look to hit them in front of square, you're doing well, Good.
Which bowlers at the top level did you respect most?
There was a guy, for instance, from Australia by the name of Dennis Lillee, most certainly comes in. I think he's top of that particular list. You have another guy who got me out in my first test match in Bangalore by the name of Chandrasekhar. He missed the second test match, and for some reason I registered my first test 100. That is why I think gave me a great start, But yeah, literally that particular time, there were little fears in your mind about facing this guy, because he used to bowl leg breaks and his little googlies or flipper at times at the same sort of a pace we see, obviously a medium pace or just above that particular level. Richard Hadley, Sir Richard Hadley, I think he would come into play. And it's just because of the things, that they do, you see a Richard Hadley, the seam comes down at you all the time, It's not like maybe some of these unorthodox bowlers that you do get. Sometimes it's pretty hard to pick up in the background. But Sir Richard Hadley, it was always pretty perfect in a sense that you could see the greatness coming down with the way the seam used to hang most times.
Let's start with the quick stuff then. With Dennis Lillee, would you decide to play normally, or would you decide, as some do, to play fast bowling off the back foot? Any rules?
Well, I started out notably with the harder wickets, when he went down to Australia in 1975, 76. Off the back foot, because in those days I think they were much truer sort of tracks, much more. They were pretty quick in that time. And with a Lillee, when I went out there at first, people, even myself, we had a lot of confident guys in the West Indies at times who wanted to obviously beat the ball and things like that. There were guys who were apprehensive about going out and facing Dennis Lillee. And I've always felt that I could achieve anything regardless, given whatever equal opportunities. I've always had that belief, I've never had any doubts about what the other guy was doing, that he was doing so special that I couldn't achieve, and you may say that's a sort of brashness, but no, this is how I felt going down to Australia, that here comes Dennis Lillee and Tomo. It's a time for me to make my name. I wasn't interested in what Dennis Lillee and Jeff Thompson were capable of doing. I was aware what they were capable of doing, but I also backed what Viv Richards was going to do and what he could do. And this is the sort of belief, and it was wonderful, I think, having this sort of belief, because I tell you, if I didn't have that belief or believing in myself that I could achieve certain things against these guys, I think I would have come back maybe from that particular trip, one of the battered and bruised sort of individuals, who did tour to Australia at that time.
Well, you've really hit the nail on the head there, because what we're really talking about is a batting career without fear of failure. A lot of young boys start and they fear of getting out. They may dream getting out. But what you're recommending is the absolute positive approach.
I've always believed in that. There are people who knock you sometimes for being brash. And I was branded arrogant, cocky, or whatever. But I knew the guy with the ball in his hand. He was even more as arrogant or even more as aggressive than I am. And I knew that it was his way to try and upset me and to roll me over. And my ticker was working reasonably well then, so I never had any worries about that. I always felt that I never worried about the steers. Dennis Lillee had one of the most menacing steers that you would ever find on a cricket pitch. He used to come down and look you straight in the eyes. And I've always loved that confrontation where I could look the guy in the eye. And I had the perfect figure in Dennis Lillee. He was high enough, he was tall enough, and I could look him in the eye and said, well, no, here's a guy who's not scared of you, a guy who feels the same sort of confidence as you. And a guy who feels that if you bowl any rubbish here today, I'll deal with that for severely, and this is how I look at it. And he was going to have his day where he was going to roll me over and he ran behind me when I was walking back to the pavilion and pointed the door to me back and things like that. So it was all fun and I totally enjoyed it.
Chandrasekhar, let's talk about spin bowlers in flight. Did you concentrate on reading the spin from the hand? And did you have any rules for playing spin bowling?
You do sometimes get totally messed up in your mind about you're thinking, I'm going to try and read this guy from his hands. And I've always felt that that's one of the most serious things to do. You got to be really seeing damn well for you to be picking whatever leg breaks and googlies. I'll tell you that there's a lot of sometimes rubbish I feel do talk where guys tell you, I see it from his hands and I see this is going to do this. Because supposing now you get a guy who's bowling leg breaks. He runs up and he tries to bowl a leg break. Sometimes if he overspins it, it becomes a flipper in that particular sense. So you see him run up to do that, catering for leg break and it's going to do whatever. Then it squats along the ground and you're going to tell me that you can be wrong because bowlers sometimes, they can be flukes, little flukes that do happen where they run out, go up to bowl a googly, and for some reason, by bowling that particular googly, if you overspin it, then for someone that becomes a flipper as well too. And you've got to understand all these little things. And my philosophy was always the fact I wasn't going to read anything from a guy's hand. If I got to the pitch of the ball, whether he was bowling leg breaks, googlies, or whatever, I could hit it anywhere I wanted to hit it. And I believe in that. When it came for time for me to defend in that sense, I thought, so long as I got to the pitch of the ball and my head and whatever was over the ball, I felt that regardless of whatever spin is there, that is fully covered. And this is just my little philosophy in that sense, because there's no way, I'll tell you, I was going to look to read from that guy's hand. And oh, that is sweet. Actually, we're moving now to one of the finer points of the game. A particular shot I think we're going to try is a shot that I've totally enjoyed over the years. A shot that I think sometimes, and if you do get it in the right place and you time it sweetly enough, sometimes it do break bowlers' hearts. So I'm quite certain guys are going to try that for me now. Yes, yes, yes. You try and get your head over that ball a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know, I find like you're walking into it a little bit.
Yeah.
If you can obviously pivot yourself, get yourself nice and balanced.
Yeah.
When you're nice and balanced, the head and everything would be balanced as well too. Then you come into the shot and just stay with it a little bit more.
All right.
Ah, yeah, ah, yeah. I'd just like to see the head coming over a little bit more, you know. I think you're just falling over just a wee bit.
Yeah,
Just a wee little bit, you know. Try and stay positive and strong in that sense. Yes, that's it. It's kept nicely on the turf, you know. That's what we want, you know. You eliminate whatever chances of getting out, you know, if you hit it in the air constantly, you know.
Yeah.
But you were nice and over the ball. The head was over the ball. The bat came through. Sweet shot, you know. Yeah, nice. That's nice. That's nice. That's nice. That's nice. It wasn't really a half volley, you know. I think you hit it sweetly a little bit on the up, like.
Yeah.
That's not bad. You kept it down, you know. All right. I think you'd have to start saying your prayers about that one, innit?
Yeah.
Whether a man is going to be there or not.
Yeah.
But you give him a chance there anyway, you know, because I think he wasn't to the pitch of it.
Yeah.
You try and get to the pitch again and keep it nice on the turf, huh?
Yeah.
Your head just started to come up a wee bit.
Yeah.
Just a wee little bit. Stay a little bit longer. Wait for it. Just wait for it to come on. I think you're just forcing it a little bit. That's why I think you get it in the air. Just wait for it a little longer. And by waiting it for a little longer, if it's going down, you can play it a little bit later as well too. So which means you get your maximum wrist and you utilize them to the max. That's a little uppish again. That's a little wee bit uppish again. Because you just, I think your feet were nowhere, you know, you just stood there and had a little swish, you know.
Yeah.
If you get your pitch to the as close as possible to the ball, you eliminate all these chances.
Yeah.
I believe in when you're driving and when you're looking to play your shot, to try and get your foot as close as possible.
Yeah.
I think that helps.
Yeah.
It creates that particular one movement, which I think every now and again comes into cricket, you know.
Yeah.
So at least try that, you know. If you sit back there and with your head up in the air, it's going to be in the air.
Yeah.
But try and get over a little bit and get your foot to the pitch and keep your head nice and still.
Yeah.
So let's sum it up. The young cricketer standing in front of you, you can give him some words of advice. What would be the major advice that you'd give him?
To go and enjoy it. Because if you do not enjoy it, what's the use going out to bat and you're thinking to bat that I'm all tense and this guy's going to rush up and he's going to deal with me severely, or I'm going to get this delivery, and you talk yourself out. You've got to pump yourself up and get yourself worked up in such a way that you think you're the only one out there. And these are the things you try and get in these young heads, that you've got to enjoy it. Stop believing it's a war, and it's because thinking like that, it builds a lot of tension. And you've got to go out, and if you're unnatural, like maybe a Latwell, who I think likes to play a lot of shots, and it's no use you trying to tell him to go out and, oh, you've got to dig in, and if the ball is there to be hit, why not hit it? I think if you're playing professional cricket, you should be able to work out within yourself when it's there to be hit and when it's not there to be hit. But the most important thing to prepare yourself to do this is to be totally relaxed in your mind and body.
Can I just end up by saying one thing? The Viv Richards coaching book seems to me to be one which tells you to nurture your natural ability and let it flow freely.
I believe in that.
And the lessons come from life, not from books.
Yeah, because I tell you, I wasn't coached in a degree where I had the various things coached to me. And thank God, as I said before, for that, because there are times I feel coaches can coach things out of you. And if a coach, I think, can deal with what he has at that particular time and allow it to nurture and to progress, I believe that's a good coach. But not to take it telling you, oh, you shouldn't be whipping that through the leg side because it was too straight. If you've got the eye for it, why not? We all are different makeups in life. Same as a cricket game or whatever games that's played. I believe that.
Probably no other modern-day batsman has been such a brutal destroyer of high-class bowling as Viv Richards. A remarkable eye, tremendous power, coupled with perfect timing, Viv never seemed to tire of scoring runs. In every sense, he was a match winner. As a batsman, fielder, and finally, captain of the all-conquering West Indian team of the 1980s. Mike Brearley was simply a winner. As England's captain in 31 Test matches, he won 18 and lost only 4. He led his county Middlesex for 12 years, during which time they won the English County Championship on 3 occasions and shared it once, as well as picking up 2 major one-day trophies. Brearley is an academic, fascinated by cricket strategies. People interest him too, and more importantly, they played their best for him. How does he see the captain's role?
Of all the games, I think in cricket it's most important, partly because it goes on for so long. You have time to think, there's less room for adrenaline to carry you through. Also, there's such a range of skills involved. The captain has to have an idea of what they amount to and how to use all of them. And the conditions change, so that on the first day of a match it can be very much in favour of the fast bowlers, let's say, then the batsmen and the spinners. The whole thing takes, even in a relatively short match, there's time for tactics and strategy and someone to hold the thing together. Also, I suppose because cricket's a game of individual skills, individual contests within a team context, which also needs to be held together.
If you're looking for a captain, what qualities would you value most?
Well, I'm glad you said qualities, because I think it's a whole range of things. And I divide it into two sets of qualities, really. One is tactics, or tactical interest and knowledge of the game. And the other is the ability to get the best out of people, one way or another.
So there's a technical side of it, which embraces what?
Well, it embraces the whole game. It embraces sort of wide-ranging strategic questions about the balance of your team and how you're going to build up a side over a year, how you see the team playing, how the season's going, and within a match, what's your set towards a match? How are you expecting to attack in this match? How much do you expect to defend? What sort of an overall policy do you have when you go into the match? Down to all the detail, the nitty-gritty detail of changing of the field, deciding when to take one bowler off, declarations, how much to attack, how much to defend, all sorts of particular questions like that.
And therefore the second part of it is the sort of human side, the understanding of people.
Yes, and being able to get through to people and being able to enthuse them and excite them, make them feel they're better players than they are, or at least as good as they are. Yes, that's the other side of it, really.
One of the more famous statements about captaincy is that the sovereign virtue in a captain is unselfishness. Would you agree with that?
Well, it is important. If you have a captain who plays for himself, then everyone starts to think they're entitled to play for themselves. And cricket is this interesting balance between self-interest. You've got to score a lot of runs and take wickets and catch catches. You've got to do well for yourself in order to be doing well for the team. But sometimes you've got to qualify that self-interest in the interest of the team. I think a captain needs to be able to give the example of somebody who's willing to be unselfish, but who's also got a fairly shrewd idea of how to do well as well as he can himself.
There is a huge challenge, is there not, in captaincy, to separate one's own performance from the job of skippering the whole team. The Graham Gooches of the world who have to field and scheme and then suddenly turn around 10 minutes later, as you used to do, and put the pads on, and suddenly you're no longer the captain, perhaps, but the opening batsman.
I think that can become a burden. You can feel very het up and involved and anxious and so on in the captaincy part of the job, and then it's very hard to get calm enough and single-minded enough just to go in and bat. And I think it was a problem for someone, a fast bowler like Bob Willis, say, who had to get really worked up to bowl, and at the same time he had to be calm enough and detached enough to try and captain the team in the field. I don't think it was very easy for him. On the other hand, I think it's also stimulating. I mean, captaincy, to my mind, is such an interesting thing. It makes the whole game 10 times as interesting, or it did for me, that it kept my interest alive all the time. And so I think in county cricket, at any rate, I probably batted better for being captain rather than when I wasn't captain.
Thinking of the captain in the field, feeling at first slip as you often did, must have been a considerable help.
It was. I mean, you could see exactly what the bowler was doing. You were right next to the wicket-keeper who had the evidence of how the ball came into his gloves, as well as his particular view. You were within reach of the other players to talk to them and contact the bowler at the end of the over and so on. The only problem was if you started dropping catches, and then you wondered if you should go out for a graze somewhere where the ball was less likely to come. But yes, it was a good position to field from, to captain from.
And pursuing the technical side of the job now, how much did you have to understand the abilities of your players?
You certainly have to know who can bowl best in different circumstances, who will keep going on a hot day when you're up against it, who will really come on and exploit a patch of loose earth just outside the off stump, or who, so you need to know exactly your bowlers and what their strengths are and their weaknesses. I was thinking on the other side of the on the human relations side, you also need to be able to widen people's horizons, give them ideas of what else they can learn to do or develop into or try out. So I think that question brings in both sides of a captain.
Yes, I wanted to move to the personal relationships because famously you produced the best from some players who played for England, and Ian Botham comes to mind immediately, of course. Someone whose career actually suffered a bit of a blow when he was once captain and then you came back and took over. That sort of sequence.
Well, as to the particular point, there was an awful lot of luck involved in that as well. But I think I did help Ian. I mean, I think I was good for him. I was a very different type of person from him. And we both respected each other. I mean, I'd been his captain of England when he first came into the England team, which made things easier, I think. Good shot. And I often gave him his head. You know, I admired him so much as a player and with his attacking flair that I often told him to run up and bowl the way he felt like bowling, or to go in and let the bat go, you know. I very rarely had to curve him down, but I could do that too. And he was also he had a lively mind as far as cricket was concerned, especially for attacking ideas. And so he was helpful to me and thoughtful, and so we had good interchanges. I mean, sometimes he didn't like being told sometimes, but he would come round, having given it a bit of a thought, he would come round and debate it or do what I said.
Mm. And Bob Willis was another successful career which you had much to do with.
Yes, though it took me a long time to realise with Bob that he wasn't quite as, he wasn't quite as robust when it came to teasing or joking when he wasn't feeling good about himself, as I'd thought. Ian Botham, you see, you could get more out of him by mocking him, saying you're bowling slower than my Aunt Edith, you know, and that would really, he would sort of bristle and come in much faster. But when we did this with Bob, we realised at a certain point that it would sometimes get him down, you know, that he was actually less confident and needed to be helped rather than teased.
Still trying to line up captaincy with the club situation as well as the county.
Yes.
I'm now thinking of team talks. Would you recommend for teams sit down before a match and analysis and open discussion, or are you one for more instinctive performance on the field?
Well, I've tried both ways. There's a great danger of becoming a sort of sergeant major or a colonel when you do a team talk, and it's a bit ridiculous, and especially if you get the mood right and the flavour, I mean, if you get the mood wrong and the flavour wrong. And to come into a club team and start talking as if it was a test match would be pretty ridiculous, I think. On the other hand, if there's been an interval and you have talked to the right people and you've thought about it and you say to the players, look, I think we should try this, and this is what we want to do, and you know, don't worry too much if we don't get anyone out. It's a good wicket. And if you just get them together and make them feel you've given it a bit of thought, you know who's going to bowl, I think that can be that can be for the good of the team if you do it with humour. But if it's ridiculously solemn or pompous, it doesn't do much good.
Discipline is a difficult word and difficult to impose on professional players, but it must be, I've always thought, more difficult for the amateur captain who maybe has a bank manager on all the week and then suddenly has to come out and give the grocer a rocket on Saturday. Is discipline simple? Is it essential?
Well, even in the most relaxed teams, there are some things that you wouldn't want players to do, or you wouldn't want a certain attitude to develop. So there has to be some means of getting people to organise themselves or be slightly controlled or behave in a certain sort of way. And it can come to that. I mean, usually it doesn't come to that, but occasionally it can. The best teams are those in which there's self-discipline and people do it because they feel that's right and they have the same sort of, roughly the same sort of values, but it doesn't always happen. So I think that even in a club side, there must be occasions where discipline comes into it. If someone's always late, for example, or doesn't turn up when picked and doesn't let anyone know. I mean, those things, you'd have to say something about it, wouldn't you?
Yes, because the performance of the individual actually affects the whole team.
Yes, absolutely.
There are 10 losers.
Yes.
We have asked other captains what they make of the job of captaincy and whom they think might make a good captain.
First requirement is luck, because I've seen lots of very good captains walking the streets with the soles out of their shoes because the luck ran the other way just at the wrong time. But the two requirements I would want would be, first of all, that a captain should keep it simple, and that's very, very important. Don't be too flamboyant and too effervescent and too outrageous. And secondly, that he must keep 2 overs ahead of the game. The ones who don't win, who are not successful, are the ones who are not ahead of the game, and that is of prime importance.
If you've got a captain who appears to have little or not quite enough knowledge of what's going on out in the middle there, then he's going to struggle to place his fielders in the right place, to give his bowlers the right sort of advice. At professional level, you assume that most of that's going to happen fairly naturally, that people have learnt enough by then to actually understand the basics of the game. But when you get to that level, then you've got things, I say communication with your players, the ability to find a common ground with your players. Because the great thing about all players in the professional game, as in the amateur game, is that there are so many different characters that it's very hard. You just do not survive if you have one theory for all men. And the real key to captaincy in my book is to somehow to try and find as much common ground with all your players. So at least you understand something about the way they work, and they understand something about the way you work, and you can just add little bits of motivation in the right place to the right people, given that for most of your time as a captain, you haven't got time to spend every minute of the day working on someone's little neurosis. You have to spend some time with players, and you have to spend a lot of time with a team as a whole, and of course a lot of time with their own thoughts, responding to what the other team is doing. You try and balance all that out. There's a lot of skill goes into it, a lot of knowledge goes into it. But I say that the basics of the game and the communication of your intentions are key items, key issues. If you cannot communicate to your bowler what you want him to do, or to your fielders what you want them to do and where you want them to stand and why you want them there and what the plan is, then they're going to be running around like headless chickens wondering what's going on, and you're going to get nothing done.
First and foremost, I think you must be a good tactician. In other words, you understand the game. Because I can't believe that if you're making stupid mistakes on which bowler to bowl or anything like that, then I can't believe players want to follow you too well if they're realising you're making an absolute mess of it. So I think that is important. I think then the other side that's important is it comes to the man management side of it, really. And what I always try to do, I try to be very honest with players. And it's not always easy to be honest with them, but I always felt that anybody playing a team of mine could ask me a question and I'd try to give them a very honest answer. Sometimes it has to be a little bit tactful because you're hurting a player sometimes. But I think if you are honest with them and they appreciate that, I think those are the two most important things for me about captaincy.
Well, I've always felt there are two sides to captaincy. One is the tactical side, knowing the intricacies of the game, when to change the bowling and being brilliant at that, just getting it right. And many times when you're captaining, some things are obvious, or he needs to have a rest and change the bowling. Other things are just purely intuition. Just simply, well, I feel that's right. I feel I've just got to swap them round. I feel, look, I want to have a rest. You've only had 3 overs with a new ball, I know, but I really want to try the spinner. And somebody says, but Captain, I've only bowled 3 overs. I said, no, I know, but I'm sorry, I just want to try this spinner. I'm sure that's right. And it's really by experience, by just trying it out, by watching. One of the great examples and ways youngsters can learn about that is when you're not a captain, when you're a young boy and you stood at third man, a fine leg or mid-off, and you're doing your job fielding, is try and think if you were captain, who would you bowl, how long would you bowl in, which end would you try him on, when would you change the bowling. Now that's a little game between you and yourself, isn't it? It's nobody else. You're not interfering with the captain of the day. And I did that at Yorkshire when Brian Close was captain. I used to think as a young boy, oh, I'd take him off, wouldn't I? And Close would keep bowling in. And I used to think, oh, I wonder why. And then I'd listen to the dressing room talk as to why he kept him bowling. And then slowly and surely I got to be better. I think, oh, I get him off, I get Fred off, I get him on. And sure enough, he'd change the ball. I think, oh, great, I did well there. And you can try to learn yourself. Have a little game, learn. And you might find that you get better at reading the nuances of the game and when to change. Now, the other aspect, besides knowing the technique of the game, the tactics, is reading people. And I think this is very difficult because we all grow up from being a youngster to learn to bat, or we learn to bowl, or we learn to keep wicket. Nobody teaches us how to read people.
I was maybe a captain because I've always a perfectionist in various ways. And sometimes I used to get annoyed, with if individuals do not, if they come below par. And yeah, but I learned, I think this is what captaincy is all about. And I think for any young captain, and for you to be young at that particular stage, because it's going to be a learning stage for you. I took over captaincy when I was 35 years of age. So I didn't really, I think, in a sense, had time to learn and to be a little bit more patient with individuals, because I was trying to keep in another big man's shoe, and that was Clive Lloyd, because he had a remarkable record, and I needed results, and I needed them quickly. But when you've got a young captain, he's got time, I think, for him to understand his players, and if it's a guy who people, because they've trusted him with that particular, in that position, it's important that he tries, and if he sees that as a future, then that's the perfect sort of stepping stone for you to try and understand how you're going to do it from that stage and get a sort of a wonderful rapport with your team.
So, Mike Braley, captain of Middlesex and England, I want you to talk me through a day in the shop here at Lords, arriving in the morning, skippering Middlesex.
First day of
Talk
a match.
us through the day.
First day of a match. So we've probably got 12, 13, 14 players from whom we're going to pick on the basis of the conditions and the weather and so on. So the first thing I would do would be I'd arrive probably, an hour and a bit before the match started, and I'd want to have a look at the pitch, because the whole match hinges on the pitch. And you'd try and assess the pitch. I mean, at Lords, I'd know the pitch pretty well after a while, but often you'd ask the groundsman, how's it going to play? Is it damp all through? And you might want to put a knife into the pitch or scratch the surface to see if it's... The reason for that is to see how hard it is and to see if it's damp underneath at all, because sometimes it could look brown and yet be quite damp underneath, and you could then bat first and the ball would actually move around for the whole day because of this damp. So you'd want to know what the pitch was like, and that would affect the selection of your team. And I was very keen to select the team as early as I could so that everyone knew where they were. There's nothing worse than hoping to play or being anxious about playing and not being told until 15 minutes before the start. Nobody knows where they are, so I'd like to get that straightened out. Sometimes people would be injured and they'd have to have a fitness test, or they'd at least have to let you know, and I'd have to talk to the physio about whether this was an injury that could be played through safely, or whether it would actually could do damage to the person. And you want to find out how the player thought about it himself, obviously. And you then want to discount. Some players were always aware of niggles and they would make the worst of them, and some people would ignore them and would want to play even if they were quite unfit. So you'd have to know the player in that way as well. I'd want to talk to various people. There might be the chairman of selectors there, or there might just be the other senior players and the coach there, and I'd want to talk to them, the vice captain or the senior players, and say, what do they think about this? Who are we playing against? What were their strengths? We were going to go all out for attack, play 5 bowlers, a specialist wicket-keeper, just 5 batsmen, or were we going to be a bit more careful? We were more worried about the batting. Did we have to pack the batting a bit? It was a bowler's pitch, perhaps, on which our 4.5 bowlers, let's say, ought to be able to get the wickets, and so we needed to have an extra batsman. So the main thing at that stage would be selection of the side, bearing in mind the pitch, the weather forecast, the likely, the strength of the opposition, what we were going flat out for. I mean, in the championship, it was nearly always you had to go out to win. There's no question. A draw wasn't much use to you. You might just as well lose, almost. And then there'd be a bit of practice before the match. Some players like to have a net every day or every match, and some don't. But I did think that it was, on most days, it was a good thing to get people to do a bit of exercise together and a bit of fielding practice, just partly to get your eyes sharpened up, but partly just for everyone to feel they were in it together, even if it was only for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And then there'd be the toss, really, and then you'd have to make sure you knew what you were going to do if you won the toss. And you'd go and find the other captain 25 minutes, half an hour before the start, perhaps 20 minutes. You'd toss up, left you time to get ready for whatever the task was, batting or fielding, and the other players to know what was happening. And then you'd settled into the day's play. So there's quite a lot to cover. You might also meet the coach or have a phone call from the coach about what the second team players had done in the last match. They'd been playing 3 days somewhere else, the last 3 days, and you'd find out about how they were getting on. So, because you wanted to keep your fingers, your tabs on how the whole staff were getting on. I mean, there might be 1 or 2 players who'd want to talk about something too. I mean, somebody who's losing confidence and you want to talk to him about that, or somebody you felt was a bit overconfident and just needed to quieten down a little bit, take it easy, get himself in before he started to hit the ball all over the ground, or whatever it might be.
Let me take you onto the field for some specific incidents in cricket, and just hear your recommendations to the many people who are learning the game and playing the game. First of all, appealing and mass appealing.
We didn't always quite behave according to the standards that I'll now advocate. I mean, sometimes you'd get annoyed, you'd feel the umpires were against you, you'd feel the other side were cheating, and you would retaliate. But discounting that, I would say that I always thought people should appeal if they thought it might be out. There's no point in not appealing when it might be out. But I think it's wrong to appeal when you know it's not out, especially to appeal with conviction, as if you are sure it's out, when you actually know perfectly well it wasn't out. So that I think that there's a certain sort of, there are standards to be kept to in this, and it's a matter of integrity, really. There's no harm in appealing loudly and concertedly if you all think it's out. I see no objection to that. The umpire's there to do a job. You're not intimidating him. You're not trying to pull a fast one on him. If you're direct, if you do what you believe, if you do what you think's the case, that's fair enough.
What about walking? Debate in every clubhouse throughout the world, really. I stick the ball, shall I walk or shall I stay and stare at the umpire?
Well, I think it really does make a difference which era you play in or what the general atmosphere is. I was never very strongly against non-walking, and the Australian method and the Yorkshire League method has always got a certain appeal to me, that the umpire's there to do a job, you get given out when you're not out, sometimes you get given not out when you are out. But the great thing about that is, if you're given out, get off the field, accept the decision, even if the umpire's wrong. Don't embarrass him, don't make a scene, and don't show this dissent. I'm very much against that if you can possibly avoid it, both from the batsman and from the fielders. So, on the whole, I'm not against non-walking. It's straightforward, it's honest, provided the players respect the umpires and accept their decisions, it seems fair enough to me. The other side of it is, I think you should never claim a catch when you know it's not out. Never ever, in any circumstances. And even if you think, you know, we occasionally catch a catch so close to the ground that you're not actually quite sure. And I think you should say that then, you're not quite sure. In which case it's probably not out. Not 99% of the time it'll be not out.
Declarations, so many questions are asked, aren't they? Declarations, how do you judge them? Will you change your batting order to chase the runs? Do you have any answers to that?
It's very hard to argue generally. On the whole, I'd have thought the main purpose of a declaration is to give yourself time to bowl the other side out. That's the main purpose. So you don't really want to declare if you've got no chance of getting them out, if the only side who can win is the other side, which is occasionally the case. I mean, if it's such a short time, it seems a mockery to declare. There are two ways of thinking about it. One is you make the game so safe for yourselves that you can keep on keeping attacking fields and force the other side to play defensively because all they've got to play for is a draw. Some captains like that, and some bowlers like that. And occasionally you could get into a powerful enough position to do that, so that you didn't declare until you were pretty certain not to lose. But the other point of captaining is to give yourself an extra chance of winning by inviting the batting team to take a few risks in going for the runs. And that was more often the reason for declaring, in my experience, and more often the reason in club cricket, I think. So that in that case, it's a matter of dangling a carrot. And you know, the good declaration is where the carrot's just kept dangling in front of the nose of the batting side to keep them interested so they'll lose another wicket and then you can eventually get down to the tail and you might be balancing the match very delicately. It's one of the pleasures of cricket is to declare and then also follow through a declaration in the field. As for changing the batting order, I think that probably sides change their batting order too rarely. You know, they should do it more often. But the trouble is, it's amazing how conservative batsmen are and how much they dislike having their position changed, especially at short notice. But on the other hand, you know, there were many occasions where I thought I should have got the players more open to that possibility.
Maybe they crave for security.
Exactly, there's the security. If you're number 5 or you're number 3 and that's your best position, and I've always scored runs at number 3 and I never scored runs at number 4, you know, that sort of superstitious attitude, which is partly superstition and partly wanting that niche, that safety, that security.
Mike, you've captained England internationally and different countries must have presented different problems. Any more troublesome than others?
I never captained the West Indies, but I should think the main thing there was to deal with not such good practice facilities, but extremely good bowlers that you had to bat against, fast bowlers. So keeping people with the right attitude of courageousness against this sort of battering must be a very essential part of captaincy. And also, you know, figuring out how to play against the fast bowling. I mean, if you stay in long enough against fast bowlers who are really good on pitches that give them some assistance, they'll get you out sooner or later. So you have to play some shots and take some risks. On the other hand, you can get sort of stroke happy against fast bowling. People can play so many shots that you need one or two people who are willing to really buckle down and take the blow. Somebody like Brian Close or Jeff Boycott or Ian Redpath, you know, that sort of player. So I would think that's the biggest difficulty in the West Indies. If you go to Australia, I suppose that one of the difficulties can be the crowds. I mean, when I went out into the field at Sydney and Melbourne, one tour, I should think at least 50,000 people booed every time I went onto the field. And keeping one sense of balance with that sort of an atmosphere was not always easy. And it's also very, I mean, as in the West Indies, it's pretty hard, and the cricket's played hard, the pitches are hard, the fast bowlers are hard. So the hardness of it is quite difficult.
Was that not to do with placing a wicket-keeper on the boundary in a limited over match? Did that start it off? It was one of your brighter moments there.
I thought it was a thoroughly good moment.
Yeah.
No, I think that didn't start it off, that just capped it.
It was. I came in at the end, I'm sorry.
No, I think I was always thought of as a sort of one of those Pommies with a sort of posh accent who went to Cambridge and who wore his sweater outside his trousers. Wasn't very physical, wasn't a particularly good player, did things by thinking if he did things at all. You know, which I think they were a bit suspicious of, having had Governor Generals with Etonian accents for many years. Anyway, I thought, why have we got into this?
It's part of leading England abroad.
Yes.
And certainly is in Australia.
Yes, it is. I mean, and then I suppose when you think of India and Pakistan, you get different problems again. Spinners, especially in India, men round the bat, tremendous artistry of spin bowling and close fielding, a lot of appealing, a lot of bat pad decisions, very excitable crowds, I mean terrific crowds, but very excitable. And sometimes the excitability would go all the way through to the players and the umpires, and you know, decisions might sometimes be made very quickly. And I think to keep the right attitude there, I actually found playing in India a great pleasure, and I found the test matches there played in a good spirit, very good spirit, 90%, 95% of the time. I think actually, you know, the sort of Indian cricketers a very different attitude, and they very much appreciated friendliness and a more obvious respect, whereas the Australians very much respected an out-and-out toughness and hardness.
Captains obviously bring their own qualities to the job, and they bring different qualities from their predecessors and the fellow who comes afterwards. But just re-establish again for everyone the basic qualities you think which are essential.
Well, can I just go back to what you said first, that to be a good captain, you have to do it your own way. You can't copy somebody else. I mean, you can learn from other people, but you can't copy them. And the good captains that I think of, people like Ray Illingworth, perhaps Greg Chappell, Ian Chappell in his own way, Keith Fletcher, the good captains were totally different personalities. Brian Close, utterly different from each other. So you have to do it your own way. But going back to your basic question, one way of putting it would be to say you have to be willing to tell people what to do, expect them to do what you tell them to do, and tell them off if they don't do what you do. In other words, you have to be willing to be autocratic, to take the rap. It's your decision. You can't have full-scale democracy in the middle of a field at the end of a one innings match. There just isn't time. So they have to do what you say, and you have to be able to get that across clearly and firmly. But you also need to be capable of being democratic, to consult, to get ideas from players in your team, to make players in the team feel that you value their opinion, which you need to do. To get to know where there's opposition to your point of view. I mean, I think that one of Ian Botham's shortcomings as a captain was that he didn't seek out opinions from people if he thought they might be hostile to him, if he thought they might be critical to him. So people stopped giving him opinions, or didn't really give him honest opinions, and he lost the real lively support of the rest of the team, both morally, as it were, or in terms of team spirit, and in terms of tactics and ideas.
So a cricket captain is quite a special individual. Yes,
of course. If you were to talk about health, you'd spend some hours talking about sickness and the way things can go wrong. And I wouldn't want to discourage anyone from trying it, because it's also a matter of spontaneity and response to a situation, response to other people. It's not a matter of thinking it all out in some dispassionate way, the way we're trying to do now. It's a matter of going ahead and doing it. And I hope that some of these thoughts might just give a change to someone's thinking every now and again.
Because part of it must be gut feeling.
Part of it is gut feeling and spontaneity, and enjoying yourself, and enthusiasm.
There is nothing worse for a losing cricket team than to come off the field after giving its all, believing that their captain has missed a few tricks on field, that his understanding of the game was perhaps vague and incomplete, and in consequence their rearguard action was badly flawed with little chance of success. That could never be said of Mike Brearley, who earned and deserved the highest respect of his players because little escaped him.
Benno comes in to bowl.
Richie Benno, the Australian wrist spinner, developed an action full of rhythm and control. From his hand came genuine spin and variation. He was equally expert bowling either over or around the wicket. Against England at Old Trafford in 1962, he took 6 for 70, winning the Test and, in the end, saving the Ashes for Australia. As a captain, Benno was the supreme strategist. As a batsman, he was an aggressive and dangerous opponent. With 248 Test wickets, he placed himself forever in the record books. Since his playing days, Richie's cricket wisdom has been available to many countries through the medium of his perceptive television commentaries.
Well, it's difficult to simplify because it's the most complicated form of bowling. Fast bowling is as it appears. Medium pace bowling is the same. Orthodox finger spin is difficult, but wrist spin, over the wrist spin for right-handers and left-handers is very complicated. The main thing to do is to keep it simple when you're explaining it to kids or even to older people.
Well, simplify it for me.
Okay. Well, what it amounts to is that you have a very, very difficult art form where the ball is going to come out of the hand in a most unorthodox fashion at a time when your body is in a very strange position. I suppose a little bit like the golf swing, which is an unnatural thing. But the leg break is the most important thing in the over-the-wrist spinner's armoury. It's the right hand over-the-wrist spinner bowling to a right-hand batsman. And his job is to perfect the leg break. That's the thing he must do. He must spin it fiercely, spin it hard, and he must bowl it exactly where he wants it so it can get him out of trouble when, as is always the case, he'll find himself in trouble against a good batsman.
And a lot of tutors have been known to say, get a length first and then spin the ball, but you're actually saying spin is the priority.
Forget about the length. You have lots of bowlers who are just rollers. They just put the ball there and that suits them, particularly if they get a pitch that may have been prepared to help them, and they can then return good figures, but that is no good. It's like trying to teach a medium pacer to become a great fast bowler. You can't do it. He's got to have the pace first. And in this case, the leg spinner must have the fierce spin and then learn to control it. And that is going to take him, mind you, say 4 years before he can control it.
So teach us to bowl the leg spinner.
Right, the leg spinner is held in the same grip as for the top spinner and the wrong un and the flipper, which we'll come to shortly. But it is held like that, and the positioning is that the first knuckle of the index finger is on the seam, and the first knuckle and the second knuckle of the third finger also on the seam. Ball is held quite firmly. The thumb doesn't play any part at all in it. It can be up in the air if you want, or it can be on the ball. It makes no difference. And when you bowl a leg break, first of all, you start in your action with the back of the hand facing the sky as it's coming over, like that. Back of the hand facing the sky first, and then it turns towards you, back of the hand to your face. So that's back of the hand to the sky, back of the hand to the face, and that means that the ball will be coming out, turning anti-clockwise down the pitch as it goes towards the batsman. Okay, away you go. Well, that's a decent start. Right, now, let's just have a look at your grip for a start. The whole basis of bowling a leg break is that the ball, as it's going down the pitch, needs the seam to be rotating in that direction. I just turned round to get the red. So it needs to be, the seam needs to be turning anti-clockwise, going from leg to off. And the first thing that's happening there is that you haven't got the ball in your hand as you're starting to run in. So you're just going to put it in haphazard fashion, which is not really good enough. You need to start your run, you need to have your grip, should be the same grip for every delivery, and you need to have your grip set from the moment you turn to come in there. So it's a matter of having the grip there like that with a knuckle on the seam and the two knuckles there down the seam, and when you spin it out of your hand, you start off for the leg break with the back of your hand facing the sky. One of the things you must understand is what happens to the ball on the way down and why it happens. First moment of delivery is when the back of the hand faces the sky, and then to bowl the leg break, the back of the hand faces your face. And then the ball is going to come out like that. So that's the reasoning behind it. Now, you'd be much better off, even though it's your natural style, just to start like that and run up and just stick the ball in any way you like. But you'll find after you've practiced hard every day, 8 hours a day for 4 years, bowling your leg break, that is a better way to start with your proper grip. Whichever grip you're going to use to let the ball go, try and make sure that the seam is actually pointing the way you want it to spin. Just have a go with that. Right, now there's instantly, all the way down there, you could see that the seam was in fact pointing towards slip. Yeah. That's the first time that's happened because you were scrambling the seam. It was just going like that all the way down before. That is a very good start, I can tell you. First ball you've done it. And it's so important that you understand why it happens. I know it sounds simple and the general tendency is to say, oh yeah, what the hell does all that mean? But if you understand what is happening with your hand and how the ball comes out and why it's doing that, then you've taken a giant step forward. So start from where you know you're going to get it right, like that. So that you've got the seam in that position, that's where it is there, and you're going to let it go from there. Right, so back of your hand facing the sky first, and then you're going to turn it like, okay, that's right.
I'm a right-handed batsman. The ball pitches on off stump and moves away towards the slips.
Indeed it does, and sometimes if you really get it right, it will move a long way and move quite quickly. Depends on how much side spin and how much overspin you have. They're the two types of spin you can use. The side spin is just as I've shown there, and the overspin will allow you to get quite a bit more bounce if you're bowling on pitches, say in Australia, where the pitches are hard. The bowler will get more bounce and therefore it'll be more difficult.
Pivot, rhythm, bowling action.
Pivot, absolutely essential. Don't ever allow a coach not to stress the importance of pivot. It does get away from some players and some coaches. Pivot evolves from the delivery action itself. Might just start at the top of the delivery action, which I contend should be side on. I know there are some bowlers who make a success of it by being front on, but pivot comes into it there. If you bowl with your eyes looking over your front shoulder at the batsman down there, then you've got a real good start, because you are now in your delivery action going to pivot, and that is going to allow you to spin the ball quite sharply. If on the other hand you bowl looking on the other side of your arm and not over your front shoulder, you've got nowhere to go. You can't pivot and you're just going to push the ball at the batsman like that. You can't spin it I defy anyone front on to spin a leg break hard because, as I say, there is nowhere for them to go. They're stuck there and they can only push or roll the ball. And I've seen a lot of good leg spinners ruined simply because they were allowed to get too front on.
How to learn, that's what we want to know next. So we've seen how to hold it, how the action should be. How does a coach approach a young leg spinner? What does a young leg spinner do to practice?
Well, first of all, I don't think it's going to work for a coach ever to say, I think you should become a leg spinner. He needs to see the lad bowling, and the lad needs to be keen on leg spinning. Otherwise he'd be a medium pacer or an off spinner or a quick bowler. But it's necessary to see, first of all, that there is something there. Then you can bring into play the things we've already talked about and the other things we're going to talk about shortly. Keenness and a willingness to work, that's very, very important. You've got two young leg spinners around the world scene today. Shane Warne, for example, who has been an enormous success in the last 3 seasons. And Australians have a little bit of a tradition there. Riley and Grimmett were the best combination Australia ever had. I played for 12 years from 1953, or 52 I made my debut, and 53 came over here. And then Shane Warne, as I say, in the last 3 years has been absolutely terrific. And he has come up through the ranks. He was at the academy, he wanted to be a leg spinner, but above all, he wants to work hard. And I said when he started out that it would take him 4 years to develop the hard, fiercely spun leg break, which is so important. Because I tell you, it's a war out there. You get out there and some batsman's getting stuck into you, it's no good just running up and rolling your arm over, because that guy at the other end is trying to ruin your career, and you've got to find some way to combat it. He's got nothing against you personally, but he just wants to belt hell out of you. And quite often he'll do it. And you have to be prepared to work hard, and the first thing you've got to do is get that fiercely spun leg break so you can land it exactly where you want to get you out of trouble at any time.
So how do you practice that? We read of handkerchiefs being put down on practice pitches. How did you learn, and how would you recommend a young boy learns?
I was a great advocate of the putting a white mark down. It can be a handkerchief or anything like that. You need to go up there and choose the spot where you would like the ball to be pitching, and then mark it, and that covers a batsman going down the track to drive as well as just playing defensively. So you'll choose that spot and mark it with, say, these days you can do it with one of those white shoe cleaner things you use. You can put the mark there, and then you'll just work hard at landing your leg break on that spot. And the way I did it was to go to the New South Wales Cricket Association practices on Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, and later on Tuesday and Thursday when I was out of the Colt side, and bowl in one net all afternoon. I'd get there first of all with Billy Watson. No one else would have arrived at 2:45, and I would start bowling to Billy Watson, who played for Australia, was a very fine batsman, and I would stay in that net. All batsmen would come in, but I wouldn't move. I'd have left-handers, tail-enders. I never, ever refused to bowl to tail-ender, because there's the opportunity to bowl at them in matches, and you need to know what sort of unorthodoxy they're going to produce. You don't get it down as far as you would for what you might term proper googly, which is starting your hand facing the sky, same grip, and same position there, no different. It seems still going that way, but it's all in the positioning of the hand, what happens to the ball as it goes out. Leg spinner, because it's back of the hand facing the face, it's spinning that way. Over spinner, sky first, and then facing the batsman, and the ball goes down like that. And wrong 'un, exactly the same grip, see him pointing that way, back of the hand facing the sky, and then facing the ground, and the ball is pointing in that direction. So it all comes from it's impossible for you to bowl a wrong 'un with the back of your hand facing your face. Right. And it's also impossible for you to bowl a leg break if the back of your hand's there. It all depends on the positioning of your hand. Yeah, that's good. That's as far as you need to spin it. You only need subtle variation. You don't want outlandish variation, because a good batsman's going to pick it anyway. The problem is he's still got to play it. So, small amount of spin like that, landing on the spot, and bowled at that pace, because you're fairly quick through the air, that I would say is decidedly useful. Always looked at the spot where I want the ball to land. And if you're ever in any doubt about that, just think about it for a moment. If someone put a post in the ground over there, and on it they put a can or something like that, and they gave you a cricket ball, and they said, we'll give you £10,000 if you can hit that can, where would you look? You're only going to look at the can. It's simple, it's logical, and it's the same if you're running up to bowl to try and stop the batsman scoring and you want to land the ball in a certain spot, you must look at the spot. From the moment you turn to run in to bowl, you must be looking at the spot. No point in looking at the batsman's feet or his pads. Sometimes I've known young fellas to be mesmerised and to look at the batsman's face. But why would you look anywhere but the spot where you want the ball to land?
Right, take us on now to the other variations.
Well, the leg break is the important one. That's the one that is your bread and butter ball, and also will take you more wickets because you're going to bowl it 95% of the time. There are two types of top spinner. There's the over spinner, which is the first ever type of top spinner, and then there are variations of that which include the flipper. Grip is exactly the same all the time. That's the grip. The two knuckles down the seam there and down there. I don't mind whether it's hard held or soft held. Everyone's got a different grip. Shane Warne has a grip that's different from mine. O'Reilly refused to change his grip when he went down to Sydney, and it was suggested to him by Arthur Maley that he should change. Grimmett had a round arm delivery. Shane Warne has a different body action from the one I used. I was pretty much upright and bowled from a position around 45 degrees. Warne is perhaps a fraction lower. O'Reilly was a bit higher and a great big loping action, and Grimmett, as I say, was down there. Just spun it up from there and bowled with a tremendous amount of side spin. So it's everyone to their own decision on exactly how they grip the ball, but I suggest that that's not a bad way to do it. So, same grip, and the over spinner is with the back of the hand first facing the sky, and then the back of the hand facing the batsman, so that the ball comes out and is turning straight at the batsman all the way down, like that. The wrong un, same grip, is back of the hand first facing the sky, and then back of the hand facing the ground, so that it's down there, and the ball, in fact, is coming out on that angle, which means that it's going to spin from off to leg. And that's why the terminology is there, the wrong one, or the wrong un, or the Bosey, which was named after Bosanquet, the googly, everything like that. So they're those three balls, and the flipper is the same grip, but quite different in execution, because the flipper is the only ball that comes out from underneath the hand. The term over the wrist spinner indicates that the ball is going to come out in effect over the wrist. The flipper comes out from underneath like that, and it's squeezed out like that, so that when it's squeezed out, it is spinning around its own axis like that, all the way down the pitch, and it hits and skids. It doesn't hit and spin away, or it doesn't hit and bounce, but it hits and skids. A word of warning on that though, it is a very, very difficult ball to bowl. It's like the wrong un. The wrong un and the flipper, it should be a warning for young kids and for coaches as well. Young kids shouldn't bowl the wrong un or the flipper until the tendons and the ligaments and the muscles in their wrists and forearms and elbow and shoulder, there's a supraspinatus tendon runs across there, which I did in Worcester in 1961. And it's always vulnerable because this, as I said earlier, is an unnatural action. You're bowling against your body and you're twisting and turning and putting tremendous strain on it. So kids shouldn't really be allowed to bowl the wrong un or the flipper until their bodies and their muscles are strong enough to stand it. I was shown powder bowled by Bruce Doolan in 1956 in July. I didn't bowl it until 1957 September because it's so difficult. I bowled in the nets hour after hour after hour until I thought I could land it in the right spot. But it is a very difficult delivery. Same grip, like that. Same grip, but as with all those that come over the wrist, comes the terminology of over the wrist spin. This is under the wrist spin. And it is flipped out like that from underneath the wrist. Tremendously difficult to do. I'll bowl this to you or flip it to you and you catch it. Just keep your eye on my hand. It's like that, it comes from under there, like that. So, same grip, and it's actually spinning sideways as it goes down the pitch.
Look.
So it definitely flips out from underneath the hand. First 20 times I bowled it, it never hit the cut portion. Good luck. Right, now just flip a few to me from a couple of feet away. From under there. Try starting off with it held like that, like a limpet. Yeah, that's it. Right, just turn around there and just do the same thing to me. Yep. Hold it like that, yep. Right, excellent. Excellent. Different feel though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. Good. Yeah. Righto, have another go. Yeah, try it with that grip, that funny looking grip, just to start with. Oh, very good. I know it wasn't straight, but that's excellent. Have another go. Don't worry about it not having been near the stumps, but that was very good. Excellent. You'll find that it hits and skids like that.
Yeah.
Keep going. No, that's okay. You need to land it, aim outside off stump, further out than that white disc, and shorter than the white disc, because it comes from a different position and it sort of carries on through the air. So you've got to be aiming, say, a yard shorter than the disc and just further out to the off. But that's looking, the hand action's looking good.
As a lead to students of the game, can you tell us, first of all, how you yourself mastered these variations?
Hard work. I know that sounds too simplistic, but like a lot of things in cricket, keep it simple and work hard at it. And it was sheer hard work. The story of going with Billy Watson to the nets to be first there and be there still, we'd still be there. I'd still be bowling at 6 o'clock, 3 hours non-stop in a net. That's hard work. But it was the aim to perfect the thing, to be able to bowl exactly what I wanted and know within the limitations of what you were doing that it was going to have a chance of being successful. Hard work.
It seems to me that leg spin and wrist spin is a profession or a pastime, whichever it is, at which you could lose confidence very quickly.
Oh. Well, there was an Australian leg spinner who made his test debut and lost confidence very quickly. This is some years ago. And Ian Chappell was captain at the time, and he said to Brian Tabor after the first over, "Is the ball turning?" And Tabsy said, "Well, I don't know about the pitch on which we're playing, but over there it's spinning like a top. So it is easy, nerves can get you. And there are times when you're not sure you're going to hit the cut portion when you run up, let's say at the start of a spell. You're stiff and sore, or you might have taken a belting the day before. And you've got to find some way to get around that. You've got to have a very hard-eyed purpose in life when you're bowling, for the reason I mentioned earlier. That guy up the other end is trying to beat you out of the attack. If he does that, you might be out of the next test and you might never play again. You've got to find some way to get around that. And it's a mental approach as much as anything. You've got to have a stern mental approach where you don't want the fellow to take any more than 2.5 runs and over off you. Why would you? The game is between you and him. You want to keep him tied down there, and you want to get him out as well. If anyone's career is going to be put on the back burner, you want it to be his, not yours.
Let's think about leg spinners, young or old, bowling in limited over cricket, Saturday afternoon club cricket, 40, 45 overs each. Is there space within that game for the wrist spinner?
Yes, spinners in Australia are used quite frequently, and Ted Dexter, I seem to remember at the start of limited overs cricket in England, used his spinners and did it very successfully. I think captains have swung round now to the fact that it is quite possible and quite often desirable to use spinners, and leg spinners come into that. They need to bowl well. Young Salisbury from Sussex and from England bowls well in limited overs games. He sometimes bowls around the wicket, but you use whatever method is best suited to the game. They're generally playing on dead flat tracks in the limited overs game, so you need to come up with something that's worthwhile. I wish I had the opportunity to play limited overs cricket. It's one of the great regrets of my life that it started the year I retired.
Because I suppose you want batsmen to come at you with positive strokes.
Always. I suppose there must be a place for the silly point and silly mid-on straight away for a spinner, but it never appealed to me. I used to have a slip and a leg slip. I used the leg slip for the top spinner, which would just run away a bit towards the batsman's pads. That was the one Doug Ring showed me in 1953. Used an apple on the way on the train to Bristol, and it was bowled same grip, which is with the knuckle on there and the 2 knuckles down there, and it comes out from between those 2 fingers, the 2nd and 3rd finger, and it comes out looking like a leg break, but it's got a bit of backspin on it and it will skid through, and that's a delivery I had more success with than the flipper. That was the one that would just get between bat and pad. It would just beat the batsman's stroke when he wasn't quite sure which way it was turning. It was a very successful ball for me, and it's one I think every young leg spinner should have in his armoury, the top spinner or the skidder that goes from between the 2nd and 3rd fingers.
Just one last thought, Richie, about flight. Very often flight is a quick loop in the air, sometimes a slower one. I'm thinking of Chandrasekhar, who's a marvellous Indian leg spinner, quite a quick loop, and others, you mentioned Shane Warne, you mentioned, a bit higher. But how do you achieve flight, and what is the effect of flight?
A lot of times flight is achieved by sacrificing spin. A lot of bowlers, when someone will say, oh, that was a good slower ball, and it may well have been, but sometimes it was just a slower ball that's been pushed up and is a very obvious variation. And obvious variations are just useless. You need a very subtle variation, just a fraction slower, a leg break, just a fraction quicker, bowl from in a slightly different position on the bowling crease, position your body slightly differently, all little subtle variations. A top spinner that goes straight through instead of turning that far and therefore beats the bat, not by much, but still hits the pad or the stumps. Subtle variation is the thing to go for. Obvious variation, useless.
Richie Benaud on the complex art of leg spin. Fascinating to hear how much practice has to become an essential part of your daily life if you are to succeed. To be like Richie Benaud, you also have to know the theory as well as mastering the practical. It takes more than just a talent to spin the ball. Mind and body have to be prepared too.